Chapter 5876. If he didn't do this, he would have to bear all the losses this time. Those spiritual grasses and spiritual jades made Zheng Dongjue's heart ache when he thought about it. Lin Yi knew that the two from the Zheng family must be behind these four people, but he got some benefits, so he didn't care too much about it. In addition, Li Zaoi also expressed her support for him. If he continued to pursue the Zheng family, it would inevitably involve the Danhul, so temporarily letting it go was the best choice. Of course, although he didn't suffer a loss, Lin Yi still remembered this grudge. If there was a chance in the future, naturally, he would get back at them. In the end, this matter was left unsettled. The most unlucky ones were those four guys. They caused so much trouble for their family for no reason. Not only did Lin Yi not suffer any losses, but he also made a lot of money from it. He also showed his strength and influence in front of many dignitaries in the Central and Northern Islands. From now on, whether it was the brothers in Tiandan Pavilion or Blue Cloud Pavilion, no one would dare to provoke them casually. 2 hours later, the fleet arrived at the Northern Island on time. Lin Yi didn't rush to disembark, but chatted with Okuda. These people would still take his warship on the way back, so he would also stay here until the auction was over. However, Okuda-ba wouldn't waste his time. When he went to North Island, he also collected a lot of goods and brought them back to sell. Without such trade, they wouldn't be able to support the growing fleet. If they wanted to continue to develop, they definitely wouldn't be able to just transport goods for people. Brother Okuda, you said that before the official auction, there will be a few small trade fairs similar to the ones you held before? Lin Yi asked with great interest. If he could get ghost cicada wings from this kind of trade fairs, it couldn't be better. Okuda nodded and said with a smile, "That's right. The thing I did on the ship was actually learned from this kind of trade fairs. As long as it's a large-scale auction, there will always be a few small trade fairs like this before the start. If Brother Lin is interested, I can help you get a few entry spots." With Okuda's wealth and influence, those small trade fairs would probably send him entry spots in advance. Getting a few more spots wouldn't be a problem at all. And Lin Yi was actually a person with a very high status. Maybe someone would take the initiative to send entry spots to him. If that was really the case, it would save Okuda a lot of trouble. While they were talking, Kai Zhongyang and Shang Wani walked over together. First, they greeted Okuda, then said to Lin, "Brother Lin, we have to go find the customer who ordered the Yangji grass to explain the situation. You go back to the reservation and wait for us at the inn." Lin Yi nodded, then asked, "If we don't have it, won't be to the Yangji grass? How about I go with you guys? With more people, we might be able to put in a few good words. That way, the other party won't make things too difficult for you guys." Kai Zhongyang bitterly smiled and shook his head. "That's not necessary. It's not that easy to have more people there. Brother Lin, you should take them to the inn first. I don't think we'll need too much time to go back." Lin Yi nodded and didn't ask any more questions. If Kai Zhongyang could tell him, he definitely wouldn't hide anything. Since he didn't want to explain in detail, it meant that this matter wasn't suitable for too many people to know. Of course, Lin Yi wouldn't force Kai Zhongyang. If that's the case, then Brother Kai and Brother Shang, you two be careful. If you need help, come find me at any time. Lin Yi wasn't worried that the two of them would be in danger. The security of the far north island was very good. Whoever dared to make a move here must be tired of living. However, if the customer who reserved the Yangji grass wanted to make things difficult for Kai Zhongyang, it wouldn't be easy to deal with. After all, he was in the wrong first, so it wouldn't be good for Lin Yi to intervene. After the two agreed, they cupped their fists together and quickly left the ancient warship. In the blink of an eye, they disappeared into the distance. Seeing that most of the people on the ancient warship had left, Lin Yi bid farewell to Okuda-ba and said, "Brother Okuda, I'll also leave the warship first. If there's anything, you know where to find me." "All right, I'll send you the entry quota for the trade fair as soon as possible. Be careful. If you're not used to living down there, you can just come back here. You're our honorary vice captain," Okuda-ba said with a laugh. At the same time, he reached out and patted Lin Yi's shoulder. Of course. Lin Yi replied with a smile. After chatting for a while, he disembarked the warship with Wei Shinjin and Shang Yuhua. As for Hong Zhong, Ho Guanqi, and the others, they had already left. They all had their own factions. Since they had just arrived at the far north island, they needed to settle down first. After a while, Lin Yi and the other two followed the people from Five Elements Commerce and stayed in a relatively high-class inn. Kai Zhongyang directly booked a courtyard that was big enough for all of them to stay in. The courtyard could also be used to store some less important and relatively crude goods. During the auction, the rent of the inns in the far north island was very expensive. Moreover, it was very difficult to stay in the inn on the spot. Most of the inns had to be booked. For example, the courtyard that Kai Zhongyang booked had a daily rent of 50,000 spirit jades. There were still a few days before the auction started. When the auction ended, just the rent alone would have to be paid hundreds of thousands of spirit jades. If one wasn't rich and powerful, it would be difficult to even find a place to stay. Not long after Lin Yi and the others chose their own rooms, Kai Zhongyang and Shang Wani came back. Looking at their expressions, it seemed that they weren't able to solve the problem. "Brother Kai, how was it?" Lin Yi came out and asked. If he wanted to help, he needed to know the situation first. Kai Zhongyang shook his head and said, "This time, I didn't even see the person. He said that he wasn't at home. Let's wait until tomorrow. Let's settle down first." It turned out that they didn't even see the person. No wonder. Lin Yi also wanted to help, but he couldn't. He could only casually comfort Kai Zhongyang and let it go. Shang Wani and Kai Zhongyang made an appointment to go together again tomorrow. Then, they went back to the place where the Universal Chamber of Commerce lived with Shang Yuhua. They had just arrived here, so there were still a lot of things to do. After Lin Yi chose a room, he went out with Wei Shenjin. He couldn't interfere with the matters of Five Elements Commerce. Anyway, there was nothing to settle down. So, he simply went to the business street of the far north island to take a look. Chapter 5877. Although Wei Shenjin was a genius disciple of the Middle Island's Snow Sword School, he didn't have the opportunity to come to the extreme North Island. This time, it could be considered as an eye-opener. "Boss, this extreme North Island is really a good place. Although the area is a bit small, it's not an exaggeration to say that it's a small place, but the spirit chi is a lot denser than the Middle Island." Wei Shenjin walked beside Lin Yi and exclaimed in admiration. Unfortunately, Shang Yuhua went back with her father. Otherwise, it would be very good to stroll around together. Lin Yi slightly smiled and said, "It's because the area is small that it can maintain its current transcendent position. If the area was as big as the North Island, it would have already been divided by some sections." Wei Shenjin nodded and said, "That's true. If the island was a bit bigger, perhaps it wouldn't have such a position now. Speaking of which, the extreme North Island seems to be controlled by a family, right? Although this family's reputation is not prominent, it should be an extremely powerful family. Otherwise, the extreme North Island would have already changed owners. I heard that the extreme North Island's ruler is the Li family. Last time I came here, I didn't see anyone from their family. The one who came was Li family's steward Song. This time, the level of the auction is a lot higher. Perhaps, there will be someone from the Li family to host it." Lin Yi casually guessed. In fact, he didn't care whether or not there would be someone from the Li family to host it. While talking, the two of them had already arrived at the only Chamber of Commerce in the extreme North Island. The name was also very simple. It was called the Extreme North Chamber of Commerce. Two young and beautiful girls stood at the door. When they saw the guests, they respectfully bowed and greeted them with a sweet voice. "Welcome to the Extreme North Chamber of Commerce. How can I help you?" one of the girls asked with a smile. The last time Lin Yi came to the extreme North Island, he didn't have a chance to stroll around. Most of the time was used for alchemy. Therefore, this was also the first time he came to the extreme North Chamber of Commerce. With such two beautiful girls welcoming the guests, at least his impression was not bad. Wei Shenjin suddenly felt a little uneasy in front of the two young and beautiful girls. Although he had a failed marriage and was developing well with Shang Yuhua, he still felt a little flustered when he saw beautiful girls. Lin Yi smiled faintly and said, "We're just looking around." "Okay, if there is anything you need, please call us at any time. We will definitely come as soon as possible." The girl still maintained her sweet smile as she bowed and invited Lin Yi and the girl into the extreme north chamber of commerce. As soon as he entered the door, the first thing he saw was not the display of the goods, but a distribution map. It was very similar to the shopping malls in the secular world. It could be seen that the people of the extreme north chamber of commerce were really business-minded. Lin Yi glanced at it slightly. There were a total of 5 floors where the goods were sold. The first floor sold weapons and armor props. The second floor sold spirit grass and spirit fruit. The third floor sold casting materials. The fourth floor sold medicinal pills. The fifth floor sold books and secret manuals of martial arts, array Dao, alchemy Dao, tools Dao and so on. Judging from the number of people on the first floor, the business here was still very good. For things like weapons and armor, Lin didn't have much interest. The auction was coming. The really good weapons and armor props would be taken to the auction. It was impossible to sell them here. Therefore, he took Wei Shenjin directly to the second floor. This extreme north chamber of commerce had restrictions on divine sense. Therefore, it was impossible for Lin Yi to use divine sense to sweep the entire building. Unless he used divine sense attack skills to tear these restrictions. However, that would be tantamount to completely falling out with the extreme north chamber of commerce. There was no enmity between them. Lin Yi wouldn't do such a brainless thing. Lin Yi was still somewhat interested in the spirit grass and spirit fruit on the second floor. He looked at it slightly, but there was nothing that he was in urgent need of. Boss, this extreme north chamber of commerce is really worthy of its reputation. Look, there is even a piece of Thunder Xian Raten. Wei Shenjin lowered his voice and said with great excitement. Thunder Xian Raten was simply priceless in other places. He didn't expect that the extreme north chamber of commerce would just casually display it outside for sale. Lin Yi had a lot of them, and they were no longer of much use to him, so he subconsciously ignored them. But Wei Shenjin was different. He hadn't reached the profound ascension stage. It would be strange if he wasn't excited when he saw the Thunder Xian Raten. Lin Yi faintly smiled and said, "You want to buy the Thunder Xian Raten? The quality of that piece is not good. When you are about to advance to the profound ascension stage, I will give you a Thunder Xian pill. So don't worry about that piece of Thunder Xian Raten." Wei Shenjin was suddenly overjoyed. Thinking about it, the boss was a profound level 1 or even profound level 2 alchemy master. Refining the Thunder Xian pill was easy. He also vaguely knew that Lin Yi boss had a Thunder Xian pill. Since the boss said so, there must be no problem. At this time, a young man came up from the first floor. After hearing Lin Yi's words, he suddenly sneered, "This extreme north island really has a lot of nouveau riche bumpkins. They actually said that the Thunder Xian Raten is not good and directly gave a Thunder Xian pill." Lin Yi faintly glanced at the young man. He didn't want to pay attention to him. It doesn't matter what other people think or say, as long as they don't affect Lin. Wei Shenjin was grateful to Lin Yi in his heart. When he heard this, he glared and said, "It's not your fault that you are ignorant. No one will blame you even if you come out and make a fool of yourself. It's just that you casually fart like this. Don't you think it's too much to poison innocent people? You want to die?" The young man's face froze. At the same time, his eyes flashed a sharp killing intent. And a middle-aged man who followed behind him quickly pulled his arm and whispered, "Young master, we are also newcomers. There is no need to make enemies with people. Let's go back and investigate their background first." Lin Yi casually glanced at the two people. He heard the middle-aged man's whisper clearly. However, he was too lazy to care. If they really wanted to come and court death, then he would help them. "Wei Shenjin, let's go up. Don't waste time with these boring people here," Lin Yi said faintly and walked to the third floor. After Wei Shenjin snorted, he didn't continue to say anything. He turned around and followed Lin. The young man looked at them coldly as they went upstairs, then said to the middle-aged man with dissatisfaction, "Uncle Li, you are too cautious. You have to investigate everyone's background first before you meet them. Do you think we are afraid of anyone?" Chapter 5878. The young man snorted twice and muttered in a low voice, "You only know how to use my father to suppress me. I don't care. Those two brats just now were too arrogant. Uncle Li, quickly find someone to inquire about their background. As long as they are not people you can't provoke, just kill them directly. Uncle Lee agreed and was about to say something when 3 people came up the stairs. The young man looked at them casually and paused. Jing Dunqing, why are you here? The 3 who came later were Jing Dongxing, Jing Dongjue, and Jing Tianqing. Hearing his name, he raised his head happily. Isn't this Master Qian? What a coincidence to actually meet you on the extreme North Island. Jing Tianqing quickly walked 2 steps ahead of his grandpa and second grandpa, standing in front of the young man and cupped his fists respectfully. Master Qian, Mr. Li, it's been a while, how have you been? Not bad, I heard you went to Zhongdao, right? How is it? Is it okay? The young man, young Master Qian, waved his hand carelessly and asked casually. Jing Dongxing and Jing Dongjue came over and asked Jing Tianqing with a smile. Tianqing, these 2 are? Master Qian, Mr. Li, let me introduce you. Jing Tianqing pointed at Jing Dongxing with a face full of smiles. This is my grandpa Jing Dongxing. This is my second grandpa Jing Dongjue, the vice head of Zhongdao's Elixir Hall. Master Qian didn't have much of a reaction, but Uncle Li's face turned serious as he cupped his fists. Zhongdao's Elixir Hall, the one Zhang Liju created? Jing Dongjue was a bit annoyed. He wanted to take the position of the head of the Elixir Hall, but Zhang Liju was like a mountain on top of his head. Whenever someone mentioned Elixir Hall, the first person they thought of was Zhang Liju. As for Jing Dongjue, who was that? Never heard of it. Uncle Li's reaction was a perfect example of Liju's influence. Jing Dongxing was a famous elixir refiner in Dongzhou, but he didn't care at all. If it weren't for the Elixir Hall, he'd probably just give them a nod of greeting and be done with it. Jing Tianqing didn't care about his second grandpa's thoughts at all. He smiled and nodded. Yes, Mr. Li has heard of it. My second grandpa is the vice head of the elixir god Zhang Liju's Elixir Hall, and he's one of the top people in Zhongdao. At this point, Jing Tianqing turned to his 2 grandfathers and said, This is young Master Qian Xiaodong, a genius disciple of Xixing Academy in the East Continent. He is also the young master of Rapid City. Mr. Li is the guest elder of Rapid City. He was entrusted by the master to take care of young Master Qian. Jing Dongxing was originally a little dissatisfied. These 2 people didn't react at all when they heard his name. Now he knew that they seemed to have such a great background. He immediately smiled and lowered his posture. So it's young Master Qian and Mr. Li. It's an honor to meet you. West Star Academy had a great reputation in the East Continent, and was even stronger than the yellow-ranked Morning Star Cultivator Academy that Jing Dongxing was originally from. However, its geographical location was rather remote, and it was in a completely different direction from the Morning Star Academy, so there wasn't much interaction. Rapid City was right next to Xixing Academy, and this city was also one of the stronger cities in the East Continent. Jing Dongxing, of course, had heard of it before. Naturally, he wanted to curry favor with Qian Xiaodong. If he could get on good terms with these 2, he might be able to return to the East Continent. Qian Xiaodong nodded to Jing Dongxing casually and said, It's an honor to meet you. He then said to Jing Dongxing, When are you going back to the East Continent, kid? Without you, we brothers don't have much fun. What do you think? Do you want to go back with me after the auction? Jing Dongxing was flattered and bowed. Young Master Qian, you really think too highly of me. But after the auction, I still have some things to take care of in Zhongdao, so I won't be able to go back with you. But don't worry, young Master Qian, I'll get back to the East Continent as soon as possible. Jing Dongxing secretly gritted his teeth. This was such a good opportunity. Little bastard, you don't know how to think about your grandfather. If you don't want to go back, at least let me go back with young Master Qian first. In fact, Jing Tianqing really didn't dare to go back with Qian Xiaodong. Although he and Qian Xiaodong often played together in the East Continent, but because of the difference in status, Jing Tianqing was just a follower of Qian Xiaodong. He would be teased by them for no reason, and even when he suffered a loss, he still had to smile apologetically. Jing Dongxing originally had the identity of a second-seat alchemist in Morning Star Academy. But later on, he courted death and was kicked out of the East Continent. Jing Tianqing's life became even more difficult, so he did not hesitate to come to Zhongdao from the East Continent. Otherwise, who would be willing to leave the East Continent? You really have a lot of things to do. Qian Xiaodong smacked his lips discontentedly, then waved his hand and said, forget it, let's not talk about this first. Just now, 2 boys offended me. Uncle Li used my father to pressure me, and told me not to cause trouble. Can you help me see if I know those 2 boys? Do they have any scary background? Uncle Li smiled bitterly and shook his head. Qian Xiaodong was talented, otherwise he would not have become a genius disciple of Xixing Academy. Unfortunately, he was spoiled by his father since he was a child, so his character was more arrogant and overbearing. The matter just now was not worth mentioning at all. The cause was that Qian Xiaodong provoked them, and a few words of conflict was not a big deal. However, he was not willing to give up until he killed those 2 young men. Uncle Li could not persuade him on this matter, so he could only do as Qian Xiaodong said. It just so happened that Jing Tianqing and the other 2 were here. Maybe he could use them to do things, and it would save a lot of trouble. Uncle Li had already made up his mind, so he did not speak. Jing Tianqing said with a face full of righteous indignation, who is so bold to even dare to offend young Master Qian? Let's go and see who it is. Young Master Qian, where did those 2 ignorant things go? Qian Xiaodong was very satisfied with Jing Tianqing's performance, and pointed to the 3rd floor and said, they just went up, let's go now, they are probably on the 3rd floor. Jing Tianqing said to his 2 grandfathers, and walked up with Qian Xiaodong. Now that the extreme North Island was full of big figures, he did not dare to be so arrogant usually, but now that Qian Xiaodong was with him, Jing Tianqing was much more confident. Chapter 5879. Uncle Li wanted to borrow House Zhang's knife to kill, but he didn't expect that Jing Tianqing was also planning to use Qian Xiaodong and Uncle Li as his backing. The group went up to the 3rd floor, and Qian Xiaodong saw Lin Yi and Wei Shenjin right away. He pulled Jing Tianqing and said, see that, it's those 2 brats. You don't know how arrogant those 2 were. If it wasn't for Uncle Li, I would have killed them already. Jing Tianqing saw Lin Yi and Wei Shenjin, and he was overjoyed. He was just thinking about how to deal with Lin Yi, and he didn't expect that this guy would offend Qian Xiaodong. He knew that this Uncle Li beside Qian Xiaodong was a true mountain opening practitioner. Even if a black ascending practitioner couldn't kill you, wouldn't a mountain opening practitioner be able to? Jing Tianqing's mind spun, and he had already thought of a plan to borrow a knife to kill. He pretended to be disdainful and said, Master Qian, so this is the guy you're talking about. I know him, he's called Lin Yi, a guy who likes to show off everywhere. With his connections, he opened a small elixir shop in Middle Island. I heard that he asked a friend from 5 Elements Commerce to get the qualification to come here, and the one beside him is his follower, an inner disciple of the Snow Sword School. That week? Qian Xiaodong asked in amazement. Then he looked at Uncle Li and said, Uncle Li, are you relieved now? This kind of small fry, we should just kill him. What merchant house, what snow sword sect? They were nothing in Qian Xiaodong's eyes. His dad told him not to mess with them, and other than the super noble houses, there was only Zhang Liju from the Pill Hall, Shengguan Tianhua from the North Island, and a few others. Lin Yi, on the other hand, was just a lucky freelancer with some connections. If he knew that Jing Tianqing purposely hid most of the information about Lin Yi, he might even thank him. He wanted to deal with Lin Yi anyways, so he didn't care who he was. Uncle Li didn't answer directly, but raised his eyebrows and asked, How much do you know about this Lin Yi? What's his strength now? Who is his master? Jing Tianqing curled his lips inwardly. This Uncle Li was quite troublesome. You're a big shot in the opening phase, and since Lin Yi offended your young master, why don't you just go up and slap him to death? What's the point of talking so much? But since he had asked, Jing Tianqing didn't dare to not answer. He could only bow respectfully and say, Mr. Li, I know Lin Yi very well. He is probably at the peak of the late stage of mystic ascension, and as for his master, he is a disciple of the Qingyun Pavilion in the North Island. What he is learning are the common arts and techniques of the Qingyun Pavilion. Blue Cloud Pavilion? Uncle Li repeated and felt a lot more relieved. If it was a disciple of the Soaring Sky Pavilion, then he would persuade Qian Xiaodong to give up, because the Soaring Sky Pavilion had Shanghai Tianhua. As for the Blue Cloud Pavilion, although it was also from the North Island, it was not the Soaring Sky Pavilion after all, so it shouldn't be a problem. It was a pity that he didn't know that Lin Yi was someone that Shanghai Tianhua valued. Otherwise, he would never think that it would be easy to deal with Lin Yi. As for the strength of the peak of the profound ascension late stage, with Lin Yi's age, he could indeed be considered a genius. But in front of the mountain opening stage, even the great perfection profound ascension stage would not have any chance. Qian Shaodong was a little impatient. He turned to Zheng Tanqing and said in a low voice, "Zheng Tanqing, go and kill those two brats for me. I'll definitely remember your benefits later." If he could do it himself, Qian Shaodong would definitely do it himself. That would be more satisfying, but Uncle Li was still hesitant. It was estimated that he wouldn't be able to wait for any results, so he simply encouraged Zheng Tianqing to do it. Zheng Tianqing immediately said with a sad face, "Young Master Qian, how can I be that guy's opponent? He is an expert at the peak of the profound ascension late stage. With my level, I will be killed in seconds. He probably won't even blink an eye." After saying that, he deliberately glanced at Uncle Li, meaning that the only one here who could deal with Lin Yi was probably his Uncle Li. Lin Yi had long discovered that the three people of the Zheng family and the two fools were together. They were indeed jackals of the same tribe, and their IQs were very low. They wanted to deal with him, but they actually stood here and pointed at him, afraid that he couldn't hear them and didn't know that they wanted to deal with him. Originally, Lin Yi wanted to see if there was any ghost cicada wings. Unfortunately, the extreme North Chamber of Commerce had a lot of things, and there was no lack of good materials, but none of them were what Lin Yi needed. He was in a bad mood, and these guys came to look for trouble. Lin Yi simply walked over and said, "What are you going to do? Just say it, don't be like a follower, don't you find it troublesome?" Uncle Li looked at Lin Yi carefully, but he couldn't see through Lin Yi's depth, which made him more cautious. There was no reason for a cultivator at the peak of the profound ascension late stage to be able to hide from his eyes and make him unable to see the opponent's strength. Qian Shaodong was used to being arrogant, so he didn't have any scruples and directly scolded, "Who are you? How dare you talk to this young master like this? If you want to die, just say it, this young master will definitely fulfill your wish." Lin Yi didn't pay attention to this self-righteous fool. The strength of a mere peak of the nascent soul stage might be considered good among the younger generation, but in front of him, he didn't even have the qualification to fight. "Surnamed Zheng, you'd better be honest, my patience is limited, this is the last warning." Lin Yi completely ignored Qian Shaodong and said to the three people of the Zheng family. The faces of the three people of the Zheng family were a little ugly. They wanted to say a few harsh words, but suddenly found that they really didn't have the courage to say anything more. As an alchemist, their status was indeed relatively noble, but Lin Yi's alchemy level was much more powerful than the three of them combined, and in terms of strength, Lin Yi could also beat the three of them, so what else was there to say? A wise man doesn't fight when the odds are against him, endure for a moment, take a step back and the world will be bright. The three people of the Zheng family said these words in their hearts to comfort themselves, and then thought that they should hurry up and carry out the plan, cutting off all the wings of Lin Yi first. Qian Shaodong was almost mad with anger. He was the dignified young master of Rapid City. Few people in the East Continent dared to ignore his words, but this small disciple of the Blue Cloud Pavilion of the North Island was simply too much. Chapter 5880. Uncle Li's expression changed slightly. Before the situation was clear, he didn't want to easily become enemies with Lin Yi. But now, it was no longer up to him. With Qian Shaodong's personality, since he made a move, he would never stop. Even Uncle Li wouldn't be able to stop him. Lin Yi sneered. He could easily crush this nascent soul realm idiot to death, and he could use more than 100 different methods without repeating them. But in the end, he didn't choose any of them and let Qian Shaodong's dagger stab into his body. Of course, Qian Shaodong's dagger couldn't hurt Jing Dongxing at all. He only did this because his consciousness had scanned Jing Dongxing's jade box, and there was a yin core fruit in it. He wanted to get close to Jing Dongxing, and that was why Qian Shaodong was so proud. As soon as the dagger touched Lin Yi's clothes, he flew out as if he was hit by a giant hammer. That angle and direction was exactly where Jing Dongxing was. No matter how you looked at it, you couldn't see any traces of it being intentional. It was simply perfect coordination. When Lin Yi flew close to Jing Dongxing, the old man was afraid of being affected by him. He tried to dodge in a hurry. His mind was a bit scattered, and the opportunity appeared just like that. In terms of this kind of method, Lin Yi was even better than Yu Xiaoke. He had received the teachings of Uncle Dong Jun. The moment he passed by, the yin core fruit in the jade box on Zheng Dongxing's body was taken away by Lin Yi and put into his storage bag. To Lin Yi, the value of the yin core fruit really wasn't worth mentioning, but going through so much trouble to get this yin core fruit definitely wasn't the result of a sudden impulse. It was an action that had been carefully thought out. Since Shang Wani's qi deviation was most likely caused by the Zheng family, then the yin core fruit that Zheng Dongxing solemnly kept close to his body was a bit suspicious. There were many more precious spirit herbs and spirit fruits than this. Why did he not bring anything else but the yin core fruit? So, Lin Yi thought that the safest thing to do was to have the yin core fruit in his hands. If Zheng Dongxing knew that it was because he valued the yin core fruit too much that Lin Yi wanted to take it away, would he vomit blood? This yin core fruit was indeed very important. When Tong Wulsui schemed against Kai Zhongyang, of course, he had to leave a way out for himself. He couldn't frame someone else and end up getting himself into trouble. The person who ordered the Yang extreme grass from the extreme North Island also ordered the yin core fruit. In other words, Kai Zhongyang being able to obtain the Yang extreme grass was actually the result of Tong Wulsui's secret manipulation. This was because there was only one Yang extreme grass, but there were two yin core fruits. Taking out a yin core fruit, after consuming the Yang pole grass in Kai Zhongyang's hands, he could still take out a yin core fruit to complete the order. This was the most important thing. Otherwise, no one would have anything. At most, it would be a lose-lose situation. There was no point in doing something that harmed others without benefiting oneself. Lin Yi didn't know about the twists and turns. He just instinctively thought that it was strange for Zheng Dongxing to carry the yin core fruit on him, so he took it away. Anyway, it was something from the Zheng family, it would be a waste not to take it. Qian Xiaodong saw that his attack was effective and was immediately overjoyed. He didn't even notice that Lin Yi flew out on his own. He really thought that he was the one who showed his power and killed Lin Yi, the peak late-stage profound ascension cultivator. It seemed that the peak late-stage profound ascension was not a big deal. Qian Xiaodong thought as he rushed behind Lin. He was now full of confidence. Of course, he wanted to take the opportunity to kill Lin. Lin Yi didn't feel like playing games with this guy anymore after getting the fruit. He stomped his feet and turned around to slap the guy's face. He didn't want to kill him for now, since he'd put on a good show with Lin. He'd just teach him a lesson. "Uncle Li, save me." Qian Xiaodong was shocked and immediately screamed. He wasn't a person who didn't know what to do. To be able to become a genius disciple of Xixing Academy, he naturally saw that Lin Yi's casual slap was not something he could withstand. Although this slap wouldn't kill him, it was still very likely that half of his face would be slapped off. Even if he could recover with medicinal pills, Qian Xiaodong didn't want to suffer such an ugly injury. Uncle Li sighed in his heart. He had never relaxed his vigilance against Lin Yi, so he immediately appeared in front of Qian Xiaodong. Even before Qian Xiaodong opened his mouth, he had already blocked Lin Yi's slap. After a slight vibration, the overflowing Zhen Qi was completely restrained by Uncle Li. It did not affect any of the display cabinets on the third floor. The surrounding guests were also not affected. Lin Yi stood with his hands behind his back and looked at Uncle Li calmly. It was just an early-stage mountain opening expert. If he wanted to kill him, it wouldn't take too much effort. If this was not the extreme North Chamber of Commerce but the wilderness, this Uncle Li and Qian Xiaodong would have already been killed by him. Uncle Li looked at Lin Yi with a serious expression. Just now, Lin Yi couldn't show his true strength at all. But seeing the other party's calm appearance, Uncle Li knew that he wouldn't be able to get anything good today. On the surface, the aura that Lin Yi displayed was indeed the strength of the peak late-stage mysterious ascension realm. However, Uncle Li's intuition told him that Lin Yi was not afraid of him, an early-stage mountain-opening magnate realm cultivator. This kind of person was too scary. He was so young and had such strength. If he couldn't kill him in one go, then it was best not to offend him. Otherwise, with the potential that Lin Yi had shown, there might be a strong enemy that Rapid City couldn't face in the future. Little friend Lin, this matter is just a misunderstanding. How about we forget about it and not mention it? Uncle Li smiled and said sincerely, if they could reconcile, then it would naturally be for the best. Qian Xiaodong was still hoping that Uncle Li could teach Lin Yi a lesson. How could he be willing to make peace? He immediately said angrily, Uncle Li, what are you talking about? Hurry up and kill this bastard. He actually dared to attack me. The people of Rapid City have never suffered such a loss before. Lin Yi glanced at Qian Xiaodong disdainfully and said with a faint smile, misunderstanding? Why doesn't it look like it? Uncle Li's heart skipped a beat. He knew that Lin Yi didn't want to reconcile. If Qian Xiaodong didn't say anything, then perhaps Lin Yi would agree to his proposal. Unfortunately, his words had no effect other than making an enemy for Rapid City. Everyone, it is forbidden to fight in our extreme North Chamber of Commerce. If there is a next time, then don't blame us for not warning you. A short and fat middle-aged man appeared on the third floor with a smile and said gently. Chapter 5881. Of course, this was just their illusion. After all, the extreme North Chamber of Commerce was open to do business. As long as it was not too excessive, they would not easily kill people. At most, they would be expelled from the extreme North Island and permanently blacklisted. Uncle Li felt that it was a pity. If only this person had come earlier to stop the conflict. If he had come now, he might as well have come later. However, based on the principle of a strong dragon not oppressing a local snake, Uncle Li was still very polite and apologized to the fat man. Then he took the unwilling Qian Xiaodong and directly left the extreme North Chamber of Commerce. At this point, Uncle Li was already weighing the pros and cons of killing Lin Yi right here and now. A person like this, if he were to let him grow, wouldn't today's grudge turn into the annihilation of Rapid City in the future? Uncle Li, who was used to this kind of thing, did not dare to bet that Lin Yi would be open-minded and give up the revenge of Qian Xiaodong. Zheng Dongxing and the other two did not dare to stay with Lin Yi after Qian Xiaodong left. In the case that their strength could not be suppressed, it was better to stay as far away from Lin Yi as possible. Seeing that the conflict was over, the short and fat man also quickly disappeared. Lin Yi shook his head and did not think much about this matter. He continued to walk up with Wei Shenjin. The fourth floor was the place where medicinal pills were sold. Lin Yi himself was able to refine Mystic Level 1 or even Mystic Level 2 alchemist. The medicinal pills here were not worth his attention at all. So he took Wei Shenjin directly to the fifth floor and did not intend to stay here at all. There were very few customers on the fifth floor. It seemed that there were not many people who bought secret books. This made Lin Yi very satisfied. It was more suitable for him to choose what he needed with fewer people. Wei Shenjin, go and see if there are any mental cultivation methods and martial skills that you need. If you like it, tell me and I will give it to you. Lin Yi said straightforwardly. At present, he had more than 100 million spirit jades on him. Perhaps this was not enough to buy the spirit gathering branch and soul wood, but it should be more than enough to buy some mental cultivation methods and martial skills. Thank you, boss. Wei Shenjin happily agreed. He would not be courteous with Lin Yi. He knew that his boss was a straightforward person, so there was no need to be courteous. After Wei Shenjin ran off to find what he needed, Lin Yi walked to the other side alone. Wei Shenjin went to the mental cultivation and martial skills area, while Lin Yi went to the alchemy and array Dao area. With the Heaven's Stolen Fortune battle art in hand, Lin Yi didn't feel that he needed any better mental cultivation methods, and he reckoned that there wouldn't be any better mental cultivation methods here. As for martial skills, he could learn them from his opponents at any time, so there wasn't much need to buy some. A salesgirl came forward and bowed with a smile. Senior, may I ask if you need any books in this field? I can recommend you some. On Wei Shenjin's side, there was also a salesgirl introducing to him. There were many books here, so there was someone in charge of recommending them. This way, the success rate of business would be much higher. Lin Yi didn't dislike this. Although his divine sense could quickly scan through the names of the books, it was more efficient to let this beauty introduce them to him instead of just knowing the names. I want to find a book that introduces all kinds of spiritual herbs and fruits. It would be best if there are pictures and detailed descriptions of their properties. Do you have it here? Lin Yi nodded at the salesgirl and asked casually. He had wanted a book like this for a long time. Zhang Liju's elixir refining notes also had introductions to these spiritual herbs and fruits, but it was only mentioned in passing. Lin Yi wanted to improve further on the path of elixir refining, so he couldn't stop absorbing this knowledge. The salesgirl smiled sweetly. Yes, we, the Extreme North Commerce, have collected many books in this field. I'm sure they can satisfy your needs, senior. I wonder if you have any requirements for the book's details? Naturally, the more detailed the better, Lin Yi said without hesitation. If he bought the simple version, he might miss out on some precious spiritual herbs and fruits. He wouldn't be able to recognize them in the future, and that would be a huge loss. Since he was going to buy it, of course he would buy the best. The salesgirl was secretly surprised. The smile on her face became even sweeter. The best book on spiritual herbs and fruits wasn't cheap. If she could sell it, she would earn a lot of money today. Senior, please come this way. According to your request, I recommend this Herbal Essentials, detailed explanation, to you. This ancient book has collected more than 99% of the spirit herbs on the Heaven Stage Island. Occasionally, there are some that have been missed, but they are too obscure and have never been heard of before. Among the similar books sold on the market, this is the most detailed one. The salesgirl enthusiastically introduced it to Lin Yi. She didn't say any exaggerated words, but truthfully said that this book was the best one that could be bought in the market, and there were some that were missing. Lin Yi glanced at the book in the crystal cabinet. The price marked below was 20,000 spirit jades. This wasn't something that anyone could casually take out. When he first came to Sky Class Island, Lin Yi couldn't even afford 1 or 2 pages of this book even if he sold himself. Can I take a look? Although 20,000 spirit jades was just a drop in the bucket for Lin Yi, if he bought a trash book, it would be completely meaningless. The salesgirl nodded respectfully and said, "Of course, please wait a moment." After that, the salesgirl made a few hand gestures and unlocked the restriction on the transparent crystal cabinet. She carefully took out the book and handed it over to Lin Yi. Senior, the books sold by our Extreme North Chamber of Commerce have restrictions on them before they are sold. Only the first 10 pages can be tested. After Lin Yi took the book, the salesgirl deliberately reminded him so that Lin Yi wouldn't be unhappy if he couldn't read it. Lin Yi smiled slightly and said, "I understand." After opening it, the first page was a description of spiritual herbs. The general idea was that plants that contained the spiritual energy of the world, whether it was spiritual herbs or spiritual fruits, were collectively called spiritual herbs. Moreover, because of the different regions, the same species might have different growth conditions and so on. Lin Yi already knew about these things. There was nothing new, so after a quick glance, he flipped it over. After that, it recorded the medicinal properties and effects of various spiritual herbs and spiritual fruits. Each spiritual herb would be accompanied by a small and exquisite illustration, giving people a very intuitive impression. Chapter 5882. Moreover, in addition to these analyses, there were also some rumors or speculations about the origin of the elixir, so that people could follow the map and find a direction. Good. This book is really good, I want it. Lin Yi nodded satisfactorily. Not to mention the detailed analysis of the medicinal properties in the book, just the hint of the source of the elixir was worth more than 20,000 spirit jades. So, he didn't even have the intention to bargain and directly bought the herbal essences in detail. The girl who received Lin Yi was suddenly overjoyed. A business worth 20,000 spirit jades was done. She could at least get a commission of hundreds of spirit jades, which was enough to make up for several months of no business income. Lin Yi was really a generous customer. The girl also secretly rejoiced in her heart. She didn't recommend those ancient books for thousands of spirit jades or only a few hundred spirit jades for Lin. Although those were also valuable, compared with this book, they were child's play. Of course, the cheapest one could even be bought for a few dozen spirit jades. This kind of goods would definitely not be the first choice. Do you have any kinds of elixir recipes for sale here? The Extreme North Island was worthy of being the gold-squandering den of the Heavenly Island. There were many good things. Lin Yi wanted to see if there was any elixir recipe for sale. What he lacked the most in alchemy was all kinds of elixir recipes. Although he could get many elixir recipes by helping others, he couldn't control it at all. If he needed to refine some life-saving elixir but didn't have the elixir recipe, wouldn't he only be able to stare? The girl became more and more excited. The price of the elixir recipe was more expensive than the book. Today, she was going to make a fortune. Senior, I don't know what kind of elixir recipe you need. Our Extreme North Chamber of Commerce has a compilation of yellow-level elixir recipes. There are a total of 97 kinds of yellow-level elixir recipes. The price is 1.5 million spirit jades. As for the mystic level elixir recipes, they are sold separately. The mystic level first level elixir recipe is basically 300,000 spirit jades. The girl eagerly looked at Lin Yi, hoping that he could buy the compilation of yellow level elixir recipes. With a price of 1.5 million spirit jades, she would be able to get a commission of at least 10,000 spirit jades after the transaction. It was almost the same as hitting the jackpot. Normally, no one would buy this kind of pill recipe. Even if they did, they would buy a single pill recipe with a clear purpose. Because Lin Yi looked quite young, the girl instinctively felt that even if Lin Yi was an alchemist, it was impossible for him to surpass the golden tier. Therefore, she only introduced the price of the Mystic Level 1 pill recipe and didn't continue. In comparison, a 300,000 pill recipe and a book with 97 pill recipes for 1.5 million was a very good comparison. It would make people subconsciously choose to buy the compilation. Lin Yi smiled faintly and said, "Let me see all the Mystic Grade 1 and above pill recipes. As for the yellow grade, forget it." Now the yellow grade pills were no longer of any use to Lin Yi. At most, he would refine some pills to improve the cultivation of his underlings. He had all the pill recipes in this area, so what he needed now was to buy the Mystic Grade 1 and above pill recipes. The girl was stunned for a moment, and then understood. The person in front of her was likely to be a Mystic Grade 1 and above alchemist. Such a young Mystic Grade 1 alchemist, it was really hard for her to accept. Speaking of which, why would a Mystic Grade 1 alchemist want to buy the herb essence for a detailed explanation? Seeing that the girl didn't move, Lin Yi raised his eyebrows and asked, "What? Can I see it? At least tell me the name and use of the pill recipe?" The girl quickly shook her head and said, No, sorry senior, I was distracted." After a quick apology, the girl's pretty face was slightly red, and she quickly took out a piece of paper and said, "Senior, our Extreme North Commerce currently only has 5 Mystic Grade 1 pill recipes, 2 Mystic Grade 2 pill recipes, and no higher level ones. Please take a look and see if there is anything you need. By the way, each Mystic Grade 2 pill recipe is 600,000 spirit jades." Lin Yi couldn't help but sigh. Being an elixir refiner really was a very wealthy occupation. Just the recipes alone could be sold for hundreds of thousands of spirit jades, and refining elixirs for other people required them to provide the recipes themselves. This was equivalent to earning a lot of spirit jades for free, not to mention the other rewards. Taking the paper and looking at it, it recorded the names and simple introductions of the 7 Mystic Grade pill recipes. Lin Yi found that 2 of them were Mystic Grade 1 pill recipes and 1 Mystic Grade 2 pill recipe that he already had, so there was no need to buy them again. "I want these 3 Mystic Grade 1 pill recipes and 1 Mystic Grade 2 pill recipe." Lin Yi pointed to the few pill recipes that he didn't have and said to the girl, "A mere 1 million spirit jades he didn't care at all." The Zheng family gave him 15 million spirit jades. As for the girl who received Lin Yi, she was about to faint from happiness. 4 pill recipes, the total price was exactly the same as the yellow pill recipe compilation. She thought she couldn't do this big business, but she didn't expect it to be successful in the end. Afraid that Lin Yi would regret it, the girl broke through her limits and handed the 4 pill recipes to Lin. Lin Yi didn't hesitate and directly took out the corresponding spirit jade card and gave it to her, letting her settle the bill first. After removing the restriction on herbal essentials detailed explanation and the 4 pill recipes, Lin Yi was about to go to the Array Dao area to take a look. Suddenly he heard a faint quarrel coming from the martial technique area. Wei Shenjin's voice was impressively among them. Lin Yi's divine sense immediately swept over there. If it was a floor away, it might be blocked by the restriction, but on the same floor, his divine sense didn't have the slightest hindrance. He easily saw where Wei Shenjin was. At this time, Wei Shenjin was confronting a young man in his 20s. Two girls from the extreme North Chamber of Commerce stood between the two anxiously, persuading them to keep calm. Lin Yi just took a glance and knew that this was a dispute between the two because of a heart sutra. Since Wei Shenjin was in trouble, he, as the boss, naturally had to stand up for him. Therefore, Lin Yi didn't go to the Array Dao area, but went directly to the martial technique area. Kid, if you know what's good for you, then hurry up and get out of here. Otherwise, just wait for this young master to teach you a lesson. The young man had a domineering look. If it weren't for the two girls from the extreme North Chamber of Commerce stopping him, he might have already made a move on Wei Shenjin. Lin Yi estimated that he would be blacklisted by the extreme North Chamber of Commerce in the future. It wasn't long since he came here, and he already had two conflicts. If it was him, he also didn't like to have such people patronizing his Tiandan pavilion. Chapter 5883. This young master, that martial skill was indeed his first. Our extreme North Chamber of Commerce still has the rule of first come, first served. In fact, there are other similar martial skills. Let me introduce you. One of the two girls in the middle squeezed out a smile and said to the young man. The other one was persuading Wei Shenjin in a low voice to stop adding fuel to the fire. The young man pushed the girl in front of him and said loudly, Extreme North Chamber of Commerce has the rule of first come, first served. There should also be a rule of the highest bidder, right? The price of this martial skill is 100,000 spirit jades. This young master will pay 200,000 spirit jades to buy it. There is no problem, right? The girl who was pushed suddenly stopped talking. If Wei Shenjin had already paid the money and the goods, then it would be useless to say anything. However, Wei Shenjin only had the intention to buy it. Strictly speaking, he didn't really complete the transaction. At this time, someone was willing to pay a high price for it. It really didn't violate the rules. More importantly, if Wei Shenjin bought it, the benefits would belong to the other girl. If this young man bought it, then the commission of the spirit jades would belong to her. In the face of such temptation, the girl really couldn't resist, so she let the young man bid. Wei Shenjin coldly snorted and said, The highest bidder gets it. Do you think I don't have spirit jades? I'll pay 250,000 spirit jades. Behind him was Lin Yi, a profound level 1 alchemist. A mere few 100,000 spirit jades was no pressure at all. There was no need for Lin Yi to make a move. Wei Shenjin's own savings were enough. The young man didn't even frown and directly said lightly, 500,000 spirit jades. The girl who was pushed away by this guy immediately covered her mouth to prevent herself from screaming. It was just 200,000 spirit jades, and now it suddenly became 500,000. Although Wei Shenjin added 50,000 in the middle, this guy added 250,000 without changing his expression. It was clear that he was determined to get that martial skill. Wei Shenjin's face was a bit ugly. Obviously, he was not used to the other party doubling the price. After a slight pause, Wei Shenjin said, 600,000 spiritual jades. This was all he had, and he could only rely on Lin Yi to use the rest of it. 1 million spirit jades. This young master wants to see how much you can carry in your wallet. The young man seemed to have noticed Wei Shenjin's hesitation and immediately said proudly, even if Wei Shenjin had spiritual jades, he would not continue to increase the price. Moreover, he did not have enough spiritual jades at the moment. Although he was helpless, it seemed like he could only give up now. Wei Shenjin glanced at the book and was about to give up when Lin Yi's voice sounded in his ear. Continue, don't worry about the spiritual jades. Wei Shenjin's spirit was immediately shaken. Although it was only Lin Yi's voice transmission, he instantly became very confident. He once again called out, 1,500,000 spirit jades. He directly increased the price by 500,000, which was even more than that guy's previous increase. Wei Shenjin directly surpassed him in terms of momentum. Fortunately, this was not a normal auction. Otherwise, everyone would go crazy. Who the hell liked to increase the price like this? Even if you have spiritual jades, you can't play like this. The young man suddenly became angry. He did not know where Wei Shenjin's confidence came from, but he absolutely could not tolerate his opponent's arrogant expression in front of him. In terms of spiritual jades, he had never been afraid of anyone. 3 million spirit jades. If you have the guts, continue to increase the price. This young master does not believe that you actually have that many spiritual jades. This guy's eyes were filled with rage. Everyone believed that if Wei Shenjin dared to continue to increase the price, he would do everything he could to suppress Wei Shenjin. To be honest, Wei Shenjin was really hesitant. 3 million spirit jades to buy a 100,000 spirit jades martial skill was already far beyond his psychological endurance. Although Lin Yi did not lack spirit jades, he also could not use his boss's things so casually. However, his hesitation did not show. He heard Lin Yi's voice transmission, 5 million spirit jades, 5 million spirit jades. Wei Shenjin did not hesitate to do as he was told. He did not consider whether Lin Yi's words were reasonable or not. He just instinctively did as he was told. 8 million spirit jades. The young man also did not stop to call out the latest price. When the young girl heard this, she almost fainted. This world was too crazy. Small people like them could not understand it. At this time, Lin Yi just happened to walk over. He said to Wei Shenjin, "Let's go." Only those idiots would spend 8 million spirit jades to buy a rubbish martial skill. Later, we will buy another 50 or 60 martial skills. Learn 2, throw away 3, and use a few dozen for barbecue. Wei Shenjin was slightly startled. He thought that Lin Yi would fight to the death with the other party. He did not expect that he would directly say that he was leaving. However, he immediately understood that his boss was tricking that idiot. That martial skill was indeed not bad. However, it was definitely not a rare item. Otherwise, it would not be placed here for sale. Instead, it was directly sent to the auction house. If one were to talk about its value, it would be at most 150,000 spirit jades. 8 million spirit jades? Hee. Wei Shenjin did not know what to say. "Okay, boss. Let's go. There seems to be nothing else that can catch my eye." After thinking about it, Wei Shenjin suddenly felt refreshed. He smiled and agreed. He followed Lin Yi and prepared to leave. As for that young man, he did not even bother to look at him. That young man's complexion instantly turned gloomy. It was true that he had spirit jades. However, being tricked like this had nothing to do with the amount of spirit jades. In fact, he originally wanted to trick Wei Shenjin. If he had bid 3 million spirit jades, and Wei Shenjin had only added 100,000 or 200,000 spirit jades, he should not have continued to increase the price. Because such a price meant that Wei Shenjin was about to reach his bottom line. He could give up at any time. However, when he saw Wei Shenjin bid 5 million spirit jades without even blinking his eyes, this young man had wrongly estimated Wei Shenjin's endurance. He thought that Wei Shenjin was also a person who did not lack spirit jades. Moreover, he would bid more than 10 million spirit jades for the sake of fighting spirit. As long as Wei Shenjin continued to bid, he would stop bidding. At the same time, he would be complacent and ridiculing him. However, he did not expect that before he could carry out his plan, he would be tricked by the other party. This feeling of suffocation almost made the young man explode with anger. Chapter 5884. If this wasn't the extreme North Chamber of Commerce, and if he wasn't warned by his family's elders not to stir up trouble in the extreme North Island, he would have already made his move instead of asking for the names of Lin Yi and Wei Wuan out of boredom. Lin Yi casually pushed Yu Ziqing aside and said faintly, "I'm not interested in knowing a small fry like you. If you want revenge, come and find me directly. My name is Lin Yi." And Wei Shenjin. Since the boss had signed up as the younger brother, of course, he couldn't fall behind. Wei Shenjin also squinted at Yu Ziqing and said proudly. Yu Ziqing was extremely shocked. He originally thought that his strength was enough to deal with Lin Yi and Wei Wuan. He was still thinking whether he should teach them a lesson after leaving the extreme North Chamber of Commerce. However, Lin Yi casually pushed him away and made him feel that he couldn't resist at all. This young guy was actually more talented than him. Other than the East Continent, could there be such a person in other rural areas? "I'll remember you." Yu Ziqing forcibly suppressed the anger in his heart. He was arrogant, but he was not a brainless person. Otherwise, he wouldn't want to trick Wei Shinjin. It just happened too fast just now, and he didn't have time to think, so Lin Yi took the initiative. Now Lin Yi's strength was obviously above him, and the person protecting him was not by his side. Therefore, he could only temporarily swallow this anger and wait to settle the score later. Lin Yi didn't care about Yu Ziqing's intention and directly left the extreme North Chamber of Commerce with Wei Shinjin. Of course, before leaving he also asked the previous girl to take a book on the basics of Array Dao and a more advanced ancient book on Array Dao, so that they could study it when they had time. These two books were common goods, so they weren't worth much. After asking for instructions, the girl directly gave them to Lin Yi as a bonus. Anyway, the previous martial arts skill that was worth 100,000 spirit jades was sold for 8 million, which had a lot to do with Lin Yi and Wei Win. This little thing was nothing at all. Lin Yi had no reason to refuse. This time, he had gained a lot from coming to the extreme North Chamber of Commerce. Of course, the biggest gain was offending two young masters from the East Continent. Boss, I'm sorry. I've caused you trouble again. On the way back, Wei Shinjin said with some shame. He didn't know that Yu Ziqing was from the East Continent, otherwise he wouldn't have gotten into a fight with him. After all, he'd just gotten into an argument with Qian Shaodong. People from the East Continent weren't easy to deal with, and it wasn't a wise choice to continue making enemies. Lin Yi waved his hand nonchalantly. Remember, we're not looking for trouble, but we're not afraid of others either. As long as we're in the right, there's nothing to worry about. Boss. Wei Shinjin was greatly encouraged. He agreed loudly and threw his previous worries to the back of his mind. Lin Yi was really not afraid of others finding trouble with him. Along the way, opponents who were stronger than him were all defeated by him. Even if those two guys had a strong background, he had nothing to worry about. This was not blind confidence, but confidence in his own Dao. No matter what kind of strong enemy he faced, he had a fearless Dao heart. In the entire northernmost island, only the northernmost Chamber of Commerce was selling things. Apart from that, there were some places to eat, drink, and have fun. The name of Gold Squandering Den was not just for show. Before the auction began, the business of these places was extremely prosperous. Lin Yi had no interest in these. After buying what he wanted, he went back with Wei Shinjin. He had to seize the time to learn some basic knowledge. Whether it was Dan Dao or Array Dao, it would be of great help to him. However, Lin Yi didn't have much time to learn. After about half an hour, someone came to 5 Elements Commerce looking for Kai Zhongyang. If it was a normal person looking for someone, Lin Yi certainly wouldn't care. However, the person was shouting as soon as he came. It was obvious that he was looking for trouble. Lin Yi couldn't just sit back and do nothing. Kai Zhongyang, come out quickly. If you can't take out the Yangji grass today, I will teach your 5 Elements Commerce a lesson. As soon as Lin Yi came out, he saw a handsome young man blocking the entrance with more than 10 elite northern garrison soldiers. He was shouting and cursing loudly. The person who could command the northern garrison was naturally an important figure in the northernmost island. In addition, the young man was accompanied by Zheng Dongxing and the others. Lin Yi suddenly felt enlightened. All the clues had been connected since the moment this person appeared to ask for the Yangji grass. Kai Zhongyang ran out before Lin. After seeing the young man, he hurried to greet him. He cupped his fists and bowed with a smile. Young island owner Li, please forgive me for not going out to meet you. Previously, I went to visit you with the vice president of the Universal Chamber of Commerce, but I didn't get to see you. I was going to visit you tomorrow, but I didn't expect that you would come in person. Lin Yi's eyes narrowed. He had guessed that this young man was one of the higher-ups in the northernmost island, but he didn't expect him to be the young island owner. The Li family of the northernmost island was not well known because they rarely showed up. Steward Song, who took care of the northernmost island for them, was even more famous. However, if anyone dared to look down on the Li family of the northernmost island, then they must be tired of living. Otherwise, the two brats from the East Continent wouldn't have been warned by their elders. Cut the crap. Where is the Yangji grass that I, Li Ziyu, ordered from your 5 Elements Commerce? As long as you take it out, 5 Elements Commerce will still be an honorable guest of the northernmost island. If you can't take it out, Then don't blame me for being rude. The northernmost island doesn't welcome people like you who don't keep their promises. Besides, I'm afraid it won't be easy for you to leave this place. Li Ziyu didn't mean to be polite at all and directly issued a threat. Kai Zhongyang's face turned ugly. He knew that sending the Yangji grass to save Shangwani would cause some trouble, but he didn't expect it to be this big. Zheng Dongsheng chuckled and said, "Young Island Master, this old man has already told you that Kai Zhongyang's Yang Extreme Grass has already been given to someone else for alchemy. If you want him to hand over the Yang Extreme Grass now, why don't you just kill him?" Li Ziyu was even more furious. He pointed at Kai Zhongyang's nose and shouted, "Kai Zhongyang, tell me the truth. Did you really use up my Yangji grass? If you're lying, I promise you that you won't be able to leave the northernmost island." Before he finished his sentence, many northern town guards appeared on the roofs and walls nearby. The atmosphere suddenly became very tense. It seemed like the slightest disagreement could turn into a bloodbath. Chapter 5885. Lin Yi scanned the area with his divine sense and knew that it was Shangwani and Yuhua. They knew that Li Ziyu was here to cause trouble when they heard that a northern guard was coming to the courtyard where 5 Elements Commerce was staying. That was why they came here as soon as possible. Lin Yi was quite pleased with Shangwani's response. At least he didn't stay out of trouble at a time like this, rushing over to explain himself without hesitation. Kai Zhongyang saving his life with the yang pole grass wasn't a waste. Li Ziyu turned around and snorted, "And who are you?" "I am the Vice President of the All-Path Chamber of Commerce, Shangwani." "Young Island Master, please listen to this Shang's words. Vice President Kai only took out the Yang Extreme Grass to save me, so this Shang is also responsible for this matter. If Young Island Master wants to pursue this matter, this Shang is willing to take responsibility." Shangwani was a bit guilty, but he had to repay Kai Zhongyang and Lin Yi for saving his life. Otherwise, he would never be able to survive in Middle Island. "So you have a share too? Let him in." Li Ziyu waved his hand and signaled the northern guard to let Shangwani and his daughter in. Then he said coldly, "If you take out the yang pole grass, then you will be fine. If you don't, humph. Not to mention the 5 Elements Commerce and the Universal Chamber of Commerce, even the top 10 chambers of commerce on Heaven-class Island cannot save your life." These words were extremely domineering, but Kai Zhongyang and Shangwani's hearts turned cold at the same time, because they knew that Li Ziyu really wasn't joking with them, and that this was indeed his plan. "Young Island Master, although the yang pole grass is precious, it is not something that cannot be obtained. The Universal Chamber of Commerce is willing to search for the yang pole grass as compensation to Young Island Master. On top of that, we will take out another 10 million spirit jades as compensation. I hope that Young Island Master can be lenient." Shangwani cupped his fists and bowed. His posture was extremely humble, almost as if he was begging Li Ziyu. House Li was indeed strong, but the Universal Chamber of Commerce and 5 Elements Commerce weren't weak either, especially when 5 Elements Commerce was backed by the Pill Hall. Although they were considered independent from the Pill Hall, no one would deny that if something were to happen to 5 Elements Commerce, the Pill God Zhang Liju wouldn't just sit and watch. Therefore, Shangwani still had some thoughts in his mind. He thought that after sincerely taking out such a compensation plan, Li Ziyu should not continue to be aggressive. Unfortunately, things didn't go as he thought. After listening to his words, Li Ziyu only laughed coldly. "Do you think I am lacking 10 million spirit jades? I'll be honest with you, unless you can find the yang pole grass within 2 days, otherwise, even if you give me 100 billion spirit jades, you won't be able to leave here alive." Kai Zhongyang and the others all took in a deep breath. They didn't expect Li Ziyu to be so resolute. Other than the yang pole grass, it seemed like there was nothing else that could make him change his mind. Lin Yi walked up and cupped his fists. "Young Island Master Li, may I ask what you need the yang pole grass for?" "For you." Li Ziyu stared at Lin Yi with an unfriendly expression. He wasn't in a good mood right now, and he wasn't someone that any random person could talk to. "North Island Blue Cloud Pavilion disciple Lin." Lin Yi casually told Li Ziyu his identity. Since other identities weren't threatening in front of Li Ziyu, he might as well say that he was a disciple of Blue Cloud Pavilion. It was the same anyway. One of the Northern Guard soldiers seemed to know who Lin Yi was. He leaned close to Li Ziyu and whispered something in his ear. Li Ziyu's expression didn't change. He nodded slightly and said, "So you're a disciple of Blue Cloud Pavilion that Shanghai Tianhua thinks highly of. So what? If you want to intercede on their behalf, even if Shanghai Tianhua is here, it's useless. Let alone a mere disciple of Blue Cloud Pavilion." Lin Yi smiled faintly and said, "I'm not interceding. I'm just asking the young island master what the yang pole grass is for." Li Ziyu seemed to think that it wasn't bad that Lin Yi was valued by Shanghai Tianhua. He was barely able to speak in front of him. Surprisingly, he didn't get angry at Lin. He only said coldly, "Of course I want the yang pole grass to refine the yin yang pill. Otherwise, do you think I'm going to plant it for fun?" Lin Yi didn't mind and smiled. "Young Island Master Li, I'm a mystic level 1 alchemist. There's one thing you might not know. I was the one who refined the yin-yang pill on the ancient warship. So I want to tell you that just having the yang pole grass isn't enough to refine the yin-yang pill." "So you're the one who refined the yin-yang pill?" Li Ziyu's complexion slightly changed, but he didn't get angry like he did with Shangwani. After all, he was facing an alchemist. At the very least, he needed to show respect. After looking deeply at Lin Yi, Li Ziyu pointed at Zheng Dongxing and said, "I don't need you to remind me. This young master naturally knows that refining the yin-yang pill requires the yin core fruit. This is the Hall of Medicine's alchemist Zheng. He has the yin core fruit that this young master ordered." Lin Yi sneered in his heart. This matter was really the Zheng family's plot. The purpose was to attack him by attacking Kai Zhongyang. This method was even more infuriating than directly plotting against him. It was no wonder that Zheng Dongxing wanted to keep a yin core fruit close to his body. Plotting against Kai Zhongyang, of course, he had to pull himself out. If there was only one yin core fruit, it was estimated that the Zheng family wouldn't have thought about Kai Zhongyang's yang pole grass. Perishing together was not the result that the Zheng family wanted. Fortunately, Lin Yi had accidentally found the yin core fruit on Zheng Dongxing's body and conveniently got it. Now it came in handy. "Young Island Master, where do you think the yin-yang pill and yin core fruit that I refined came from? I'm not afraid to tell you that I bought it from alchemist Zheng Dongxing." President Kai, with the purpose of saving people, took out the yang pole grass for free. Originally, he wanted to continue to search for more, but unfortunately, the North Island didn't have it, so he wanted to apologize to the young island master. Does this alchemist Zheng have any intentions in this regard? Lin Yi sneered. Zheng Dongxing probably didn't realize that the jade box on him no longer had the yin core fruit. Otherwise, he wouldn't be standing so calmly beside Li Ziyu. Li Ziyu was slightly startled, then looked at Zheng Dongxing with an unfriendly expression and said, "Alchemist Zheng, did you really sell this young master's yin core fruit?" Without waiting for Zheng Dongxing to speak, Lin Yi continued, "Young Island Master, when you went to ask Zheng Dongxing for the yin core fruit, did he say that even if you had the yin core fruit, it would be useless? Because the yang pole grass had already been used up, and because the young island master was distracted, he didn't get the yin core fruit and directly brought people to find Vice President Kai?" Although Lin Yi said it simply, it was basically very close to the truth. Li Ziyu wasn't a fool. In a flash, he knew that he had been played. This was clearly a scheme to divert the trouble to someone else, to kill with a borrowed knife. Chapter 5886. Zheng Dongxing, you dare to fool me? Li Ziyu suddenly flew into a rage. Compared to Kai Zhongyang and the others who calmly admitted their mistakes and sought compensation and forgiveness, Zheng Dongxing's little tricks were simply toying with him, the young island master of the extreme North Island. Zheng Dongxing was shocked, and his heart was a little flustered. A person like Li Ziyu was not someone he could afford to offend. Fortunately, he was prepared, or else it would be troublesome this time. He hurriedly took out the jade box that he kept close to his body, held it with both hands and bowed to Li Ziyu, saying, "Young Island Master, this is the yin core fruit that I bought. Don't listen to that despicable person's provocation. How can we not do what young Island Master asked us to do? I didn't take it out directly because I was worried that young Island Master didn't have the yang extreme grass, so you couldn't treat Island Master Li's injuries." Li Ziyu looked at Zheng Dongxing playfully and said in an extremely unfriendly tone, You guys are very capable. You actually know that this young master wants to refine the yin-yang pill to save my family's old man. It seems that you have planted informants in our Li family. Zheng Dongxing was immediately dumbfounded. Zheng Dongjue and Zheng Tianqing, who were beside him, were also drenched in cold sweat. Li Ziyu's words could be big or small. If he dared to plant a spy in the Li family of the extreme north, even if it was the Dan Hall, he could forget about protecting their Zheng family. Damn it, Li Ziyu really never said that he wanted the yang extreme grass and yin core fruit to save his father Li Zixiang. Zheng Dongxing knew about this matter by chance, but even if he said so, no one would believe him. Zheng Dongxing's hands that were holding the jade box trembled slightly. The cold sweat on his forehead had already flowed to his chin, dripping down drop by drop. Young Island Master misunderstood. How could I plant any informants? This is completely a guess. Think about it, who can make Young Island Master personally search for medicinal herbs in the whole world except for Island Master? Who else is qualified? Isn't that right? Young Island Master's filial piety is well known, so I also made a bold guess. I didn't expect it to be true. I wonder how Island Master Li's injuries are? It's really worrying. In a moment of desperation, Zheng Dongxing's intelligence was off the charts. He forcefully found a reason that wasn't a reason, and in any case, he managed to brush it off. Of course, Li Ziyu wouldn't believe Zheng Dongxing's nonsense so easily. However, he had to admit that there was some truth in what this old thing said. For example, young Master Li's filial piety touched the heavens. For example, other than this old man, no one was qualified to make him appear. After a moment of silence, Li Ziyu then took the jade box from Zheng Dongxing's hands and said, "This young master believes that our Li family of the extreme north will not be bribed by you, so even if what you said this time is reasonable, seeing that you have successfully brought the yin core fruit, I will not argue with you." Just as he finished speaking, Li Ziyu, who had just opened the jade box, glared angrily and fiercely smashed the empty jade box onto Zheng Dongxing's head, causing his head to bleed, and he almost died from his brain rupturing. "Old fool! How dare you make fun of me? Do you really think I won't dare to kill you?" Li Ziyu was about to explode. This old bastard, he actually took an empty box to make fun of him. He had seen people who were not afraid of death, but he had never seen someone who was not afraid of death to this extent. After throwing the jade box, Li Ziyu took the opportunity to kick the dumbfounded Zheng Dongxing's chest. A few light cracking sounds could be heard. It was obvious that several of Zheng Dongxing's sternum were broken. Take them down and throw them into prison. Don't let this old thing die. If I don't let this old thing know the consequences of making fun of this young master, how can I let him die so easily? Li Ziyu's chest was violently moving up and down. It was obvious that he was really angry. It was fine that Zheng Dongxing used a borrowed knife to kill someone, but he actually took out an empty box and said that there was a yin core fruit. Did the dignified young master of the extreme North Island look like an idiot? He couldn't even tell if it was an empty box or not. After receiving the order, several North Town guards instantly unsheathed their sabers and formed an attack formation, surrounding the three people of the Zheng family. Two long sabers were directly placed on Zheng Dongxing's neck. If he dared to move, he would immediately be beheaded. "Young master, I'm wronged. There must be some misunderstanding here." Zheng Dongxing couldn't care less about the blood spurting from his forehead and the blood that kept gushing out of his mouth. He screamed at the top of his lungs. Fortunately, Li Ziyu said that he wouldn't let him die so easily. After the North Town guards restrained him, they had already fed him a healing elixir. At least his injuries were under control. Zheng Dongjue also quickly begged for mercy. "Young master, I am the vice head of Middle Island's Alchemy Hall. I dare to swear on the name of Middle Island's Alchemy Hall that this is not what you see. Please give us some time, we will definitely give you a satisfactory explanation." As for Zheng Tianqing, he was basically pissing his pants. He only wanted to find Qian Shaodong now. On the extreme North Island, perhaps only Qian Shaodong could save his life. After that, it didn't matter if he became their slave or slave. As long as he could stay alive in the hands of the furious Li Ziyu, it was fine. Unfortunately, under the situation where he was being stabbed, he didn't even have the strength to beg for mercy, let alone find Qian Shaodong. The vice head of the alchemy hall dares to come to the extreme north island and make fun of this young master? Do you really think you are the elixir god Zhang Liju? Li Ziyu said to Zheng Dongjue in disdain. Although he said that, he didn't do anything to Zheng Dongjue for the sake of the alchemy hall. Otherwise, these two old things wouldn't have a good time. Zheng Dongjue quickly seized the opportunity to say, "Young Island Lord, to tell you the truth, my cousin did indeed sell a core fruit, but we only had 2 core fruits. Because we could leave one for Young Island Lord, we took out one to save Shang Wani's life. Who knew that the core fruit we left behind would have a problem? We really didn't mean to deceive Young Island Lord." Li Ziyu laughed and narrowed his eyes. "What? You can't take anything out and you're blaming me?" No, how could we dare to blame you? What I mean is, there must be something fishy going on. Zheng Dongjue quickly explained. If they continued to piss Li Ziyu off, the 3 of them might just die. Chapter 5887. Zheng Dongxing's injuries were already a lot better under the effects of the medicinal pills. Taking advantage of Zheng Dongjue's words, he began to think about how the core fruit disappeared. Before leaving the ancient warship, he specifically confirmed that the core fruit was still lying in the jade box. But how long had it been? How did it mysteriously disappear? Thinking about it carefully, it seemed that other than Chen Xiaodong and Uncle Li from the East Continent, he only had dealings with Lin Yi. Although Zheng Dongxing wasn't sure if it was Lin Yi's doing, now wasn't the time to collect evidence. He had to seize the opportunity to drag the enemy down with him. Young Island Master, I remember now. Previously, when we were at the extreme North Chamber of Commerce, we had a small conflict with that bastard Lin. He must have stolen my core fruit at that time. As long as Young Island Master searches his body, you will definitely be able to find the core fruit. Zheng Dongxing didn't care about the consequences anymore. Anyway, he had to bite down on Lin Yi first. However, he didn't know that this nonsense was actually infinitely close to the truth. It had to be said that this old fellow's IQ really went online. Lin Yi smiled slightly and said, "Zheng Dongxing, your little trick of framing others is really getting better and better. It's a pity that Young Island Master is such a smart person. How could he be used by you again and again? It doesn't matter if you're stupid, but don't think that everyone is as stupid as you." Li Ziyu suddenly choked. When he heard Zheng Dongxing's words, he really wanted to search Lin Yi's body. However, with Lin Yi's words, he was too embarrassed to say it. If he really did that, wouldn't it show that he, the wise and mighty Young Island Master, was completely led by the nose by the surname Zheng? Lin Yi unhurriedly looked at Li Ziyu and said, "Young Island Master Li, the young pole grass has indeed been used up, but as you can see, Zheng Dongxing's dark core fruit is also gone. Our Vice Chairman Kai and Vice Chairman Shang are very sincere in discussing the matter of compensation, but this old thing surnamed Zheng wants to use Young Island Master as a tool. Young Island Master should understand this, right?" Li Ziyu was very annoyed in his heart. This bastard was touching my sore spot. Was he trying to make things clear or not? Regardless of whether he understood it or not, it seemed that he wasn't that wise and mighty. After vaguely replying, Li Ziyu once again vented his anger on Zheng Dongxing. After a series of punches and kicks, he had the northern guard stuff a pill into the old thing's mouth. Then he angrily said, "This is outrageous. You old thing, see how this young master will deal with you." The 3 people from the Zheng family now hated Lin Yi to the core. This bastard's method of hitting someone when they're down was really good. And Li Ziyu was really moved by him. If this continued, the Zheng family would really be finished. "Young Island Master, everything we said is the truth. There is absolutely no falsehood. In any case, please believe us. Also, this Lin Yi is a despicable and shameless person. Young Island Master must not be fooled by him. No matter what he says, the fact that Kai Zhongyang lost the Yang Polegrass is a fact. There is no way to refute it." Zheng Dongjue really couldn't come up with any strong evidence, so he simply burned the fire on Kai Zhongyang again, hoping to divert Li Ziyu's attention. As a result, Li Ziyu directly slapped him in the face. At the same time, he scolded, "Do I need you to teach me how to do things? Do you think this young master can be fooled by just anyone? Who the hell do you think you are?" Li Ziyu slapped him every time he spoke. Although it was only 3 slaps, Zheng Dongjue really wanted to die. No matter what, he was the deputy hall master of the alchemy division. When had he ever been humiliated like this? Fortunately, Li Ziyu didn't continue. Instead, he turned to Lin Yi and said, "All right, I know about this. I'm not an unreasonable person. Since the young pole grass and the Een core fruit are gone, and your attitude of admitting your mistakes is better, I won't bother to argue with you. Now, both of your chambers of commerce will get out of the extreme North Island, and you will never set foot on the island again. Did you hear me clearly?" After a slight pause, he pointed at Lin Yi and said, "And you, although you are a mystic first-level alchemist, we don't lack alchemists like you in the extreme North Island. You get out of here too, and you are not allowed to set foot on the island again." Lin Yi and the others were all stunned. Being kicked out of the extreme North Island was equivalent to losing the qualification to participate in the top auction. This was definitely a heavy blow to the 2 chambers of commerce. Of course, expelling the 2 chambers of commerce was also more harmful than beneficial to the extreme North Island. If Li Ziyu wasn't really angry, he wouldn't have made such a decision. Lin Yi didn't really care if he didn't come to the extreme North Island in the future, but this time, he absolutely couldn't leave. He was still counting on the spirit-gathering branch to wake up Han Jingjing, and the soul wood was also a must. How could he leave the extreme North Island now? Shang Wani hurriedly said, "Young Island Master, this matter started because of me. It has nothing to do with others, and it has nothing to do with our 2 chambers of commerce. If Young Island Master must punish me, then punish me, Shang Wani, to leave the extreme North Island alone. As for the others, I hope Young Island Master can let them go, especially our 2 chambers of commerce. It has nothing to do with this matter." Li Ziyu waved his hand coldly and said, "No need to say anything, you all have to get out of here. Now, it's you who didn't keep your words. This kind of chamber of commerce doesn't have the right to enter the extreme North Island. I'm already being merciful by not killing you all. If you still don't know what's good for you, then just don't leave. All of you can stay in the extreme North Island, I will find you a good place." As he said that, Li Ziyu turned and pointed at Zheng Dongjue, "And you, I will give face to Dan God Zhang Liju. Bring everyone from the Dan Hall and get out of the extreme North Island. Unless the Dan God comes personally, otherwise, you are all forbidden from entering the island. As for this old thing and his grandson, lock them up in the jail first. If my old man is fine, then forget it. If anything happens to him, then prepare to be sliced into pieces." Zheng Dongxing and Jing Tianqing felt a chill down their spine. They wanted to struggle and beg for mercy. Unfortunately, the 2 northern sentinels knocked them out and tied them up tightly like rice dumplings. Chapter 5888. Young Island Master, this is really a misunderstanding. Please give me some time, and I will definitely give you an explanation. Moreover, the chief alchemist of our pill hall, Master Li Zhao, is also here this time. She is not only a genius in alchemy, but she also has amazing talent in medical skills. Perhaps Master Li Zhao might be able to cure Island Lord's injury. Please give us a chance, Young Island Lord. Our pill hall will definitely be grateful for Young Island Lord's magnanimity." Zheng Dongjue did not look like a deputy hall master at all. He was simply begging for Li Ziyu's forgiveness. Li Ziyu was slightly tempted when he heard the name of Chief Alchemist Li Zhaoyi. If Li Zhaoyi could really cure his father, then it did not matter whether he had the Yin and Yang pill or not. Zheng Dongjue, can you be more shameless? Lin Yi sneered. If Li Zhaoyi had that ability, she wouldn't have needed to refine the Yin and Yang pill on the ancient warship. She could have cured Vice President Shang directly. Are you trying to say that Vice President Shang's condition is more serious than Island Master Li, so Li Zhaoyi can't cure him? Zheng Dongjue was going crazy. He wanted nothing more than to strangle this bastard to death right now. Why did he always have something to say? How could Shang Wani and Li Zaixiang be the same? Shang Wani would die in 24 hours on the ancient warship, but Li Zaixiang had held on for so long. It was obvious that he was much better than Shang Wani. If Li Zhaoyi agreed to help, there might be a chance. However, after hearing what Lin Yi said, Li Ziyu would never believe him. As expected, Li Ziyu's expression was extremely ugly. He glared at Jing Dongjue and said to all the people who were being expelled, "Don't say that I am heartless. It's already dark. I'll let you stay for one more night. When the sun rises, all of you are to get out of the extreme North Island. Those who don't leave after the time limit will be killed by the Northern Guards." All the North Garrison Guardians agreed in unison. It was a shocking sight, especially Jing Dongjue. He was already a little lost, and now he was even more frightened, not knowing what to do. Seeing that Li Ziyu was about to leave, Lin Yi took out the extra yin and yang pill, tossed it up and down in his hand, and said, "Brother Kai, Brother Shang, since the northernmost island doesn't welcome us, let's leave. In fact, it's not a big deal. If there are good things, there are places to buy and sell them. Look at my special grade yin and yang elixir. If I can't sell it in the northernmost island, can I sell it elsewhere?" Just as Li Ziyu was about to take a step forward, he abruptly retracted his foot and turned around with lightning speed. His eyes locked onto the black and white elixir in Lin Yi's hand, and his head involuntarily nodded along. Yin and yang pill. It was indeed the yin and yang pill. Li Ziyu was about to cry. "You have the yin and yang pill in your hands, so why are you still talking so much nonsense? With the finished elixir, who would want the damn yang pole grass and yin core fruit?" What he did not know was that Lin Yi not only wanted to stay for the auction, but he also wanted to see that the young master of the island was reasonable. If Li Ziyu had used his power to oppress him, Lin Yi would not have taken out the yin and yang pill. At most, he would have asked Hong Zhong to help him bid for the spirit gathering branch and other items. As for whether Li Ziyu died or not, it was none of his business. It was precisely because Li Ziyu was reasonable and didn't have any other methods of revenge other than banishment that Lin Yi took out the yin-yang pill, giving both sides a chance. "Brother Lin, you are indeed a top alchemist. You can even make the yin and yang pill. Amazing, amazing." Li Ziyu was embarrassed. He quickly praised Lin Yi first to regain some of his impression. Lin Yi curled his lips. He had already told him that he could make the yin and yang pill. Now he only said that he could not afford it. It was too fake. But it did not matter. As long as Li Ziyu wanted the yin and yang pill, they could talk. After laughing a few times, Li Ziyu, the young master of the island, did not know how to flatter Lin. He could only change the topic. "Brother Lin, how much are you willing to pay for the yin and yang pill?" He did not ask whether Lin Yi would sell it or not. He only asked Lin Yi what price he wanted. He was worried that Lin Yi would say that he was not selling it. If that happened, he would be at a loss. He could not just rob it, right? However, it was not impossible to rob it directly. It was related to his old man, Li Ziyu. As long as there was a glimmer of hope, Li Ziyu would definitely do anything. Lin Yi smiled faintly. "This yin and yang pill is not sold casually. I am going to participate in the auction in the name of 5 Elements Commerce. But we will leave the extreme North Island tomorrow. It seems that there is no chance for us to participate in the auction." Li Ziyu's head was still nodding along with the yin and yang pill. He could not help but show a little embarrassed expression. He thought in his heart, why don't you take out the yin and yang pill earlier? Who is so free to expel the 2 major chambers of commerce? "Brother Lin, let's discuss it. Can you keep the yin and yang pill first? If it is thrown around, it will affect its value if it is damaged. Moreover, if it is not stored in a jade bottle, it will easily lose its medicinal properties." Li Ziyu had already regarded this pill as his own. Seeing that Lin Yi did not take it seriously, he really could not bear it. He subconsciously opened his mouth to persuade him. After saying that, he realized that this was not the main point. The main point was how to buy the pill. "That's right. Brother Lin, I think it would be a pity if the Northern Islands auction didn't have the 5 Elements Chamber of Commerce and the All-Path Chamber of Commerce. It would certainly make the auction lose a lot of its splendor. So, what happened just now, what happened just now? Why can't I remember?" Li Ziyu said seriously at first. Then he acted as if he had lost his memory. Wasn't it just pretending to be stupid? Who didn't know how to do that? Lin Yi did not pay attention to him. He turned his head to Kai Zhongyang and Shang Wani and said, "2 brothers, hurry up and pack up. Since they do not welcome us, we do not need to wait until tomorrow. Let's go back to the ancient battleship tonight. We can sleep more comfortably on the ship. Kai Zhongyang and Shang Wani were still a little confused. They did not know how Lin Yi took out a yin and yang pill. However, this matter was not important. What was important was that Li Ziyu obviously did not want to argue with them. The matter of the yang pole grass should also be over. Originally, the two of them were already overjoyed. However, when they heard that Lin Yi was going to leave, they immediately restrained their emotions. Their expressions also became quite calm. They were both old foxes. How could they not understand such a small matter? Chapter 5889. Shang Wani also looked dejected. He nodded and said, "President Kai, then I will go back and pack up first. See you on the ship later." Li Ziyu wanted to cry but had no tears. Although life is like a play and it all depends on acting, aren't you two old men acting too fake? Can you keep that smile at the corner of your mouth first? If he could rob it, Li Ziyu might directly rob it. The problem was that the elixir was in the hands of Lin Yi. He was worried that if he moved, the yin and yang pill would be destroyed by Lin Yi in an instant. This was the only elixir that could save his old man at present. If it was destroyed because of his impulsiveness, he would not be able to forgive himself. Fortunately, Li Ziyu had a good brain and was a straightforward person. He knew that the reason why Lin Yi took out the yin and yang pill was to talk about a deal. Now he was being difficult just to vent his anger. So he simply stepped forward and cupped his fists and bowed. "Brother Lin, Vice President Kai, Vice President Shang, Li Ziyu was wrong just now. Please forgive me." It was not easy for the dignified young island master to do this. If they continued to force him, even if Li Ziyu gave in for Li Zaixiang, he would definitely hold a grudge in his heart in the future. Unless Lin Yi and the others didn't stay in the extreme North Island anymore, they would definitely be retaliated in the open and in the dark. "Brother Lin, don't lower yourself to my level. Because of my old man's injury, I am also burning with anxiety. So when I heard that the life-saving thing is gone, it is inevitable that my mood is bad. If I have offended you in any way, I will treat everyone to a drink as an apology. This yin and yang pill, no matter how much you offer, Li Ziyu will buy it." Li Ziyu, who straightened up, was quite sincere. He had also spread out what he could say. Now it was up to Lin Yi's answer. Of course, Lin Yi also knew when to stop. When it came to taking advantage of others, it might seem like he was gaining an advantage on the surface, but in reality, it was hard to say how much of a loss he would suffer. Honestly speaking, Lin Yi admired this Li Ziyu a little. At least when he was in an absolute advantage, he didn't kill him because of his personal feelings. Therefore, after he kept the yin and yang pill into the jade bottle, he smiled and said, "I can naturally understand young island Master Li's concern for his father. If not, I wouldn't have taken out the yin and yang pill. On account of young island Master Li's filial piety, I'll pretend that nothing happened just now. I won't auction this yin and yang pill." Li Ziyu knew there was a chance when he heard that. He immediately laughed and said, "Brother Lin, calling me young island lord is too formal. Why don't you just call me by my name? Li Ziyu, it's very easy to say. We're all friends, so everything can be discussed, right?" Brother Li is indeed a straightforward person. Lin Yi found it funny in his heart. This young island lord's character was quite good. He didn't stand on ceremony and changed his words. Since Brother Li has said that we're all friends, then this yin and yang pill naturally belongs to you. Li Ziyu caught the jade bottle that Lin Yi threw over in a daze. He still didn't dare to believe it. "Yin and yang pill, I got it just like that?" He subconsciously opened the jade bottle and took a look. Yes, it was indeed the yin and yang pill. Moreover, it was of special quality with 3 elixir halos. Even the young island lord of the extreme North Island rarely saw such a top-grade elixir. "Brother Lin, how many spirit jades do you need for this elixir? Or do you need anything in exchange? Just tell me. As long as I can get it, I will definitely get it for you." Li Ziyu forcefully suppressed the excitement in his heart. He took a deep breath and said solemnly. Lin Yi smiled faintly and said, "Brother Li, you're treating me like an outsider. This yin and yang pill can be considered compensation from the 5 elements commerce for the yang pole grass. As you said, we're all friends. There's no point in talking about these small details. A yang pole grass and a special quality yin and yang pill. Could the value of the two be the same? If it was in the trade fair, even if he used 100 yang pole grass to exchange for this special quality yin and yang pill, there would still be people who would agree. As long as he had the 100 yang pole grass, it would be fine. Lin Yi's favor was definitely huge. Li Ziyu had no choice but to accept this favor. Unless he didn't want to save his old man. Brother Lin, since you've put it that way, I won't be unreasonable. From now on you're my brother. If you need anything, just tell me. As a brother, I won't say no. Li Ziyu patted his chest and said solemnly. It could be seen that Li Ziyu's words were quite serious. Lin Yi was also slightly moved. A yin and yang pill that was insignificant to him, if he could gain a person's sincere friendship, it would be worth a lot more than tens of millions of spirit jades. Since we're brothers, there's no need to say anything more. Lin Yi also smiled faintly and reached out his hand to pat Li Ziyu's. The two of them had an inexplicable feeling of appreciation for each other. Li Ziyu was in a good mood. He took out a jade token and handed it to Lin, saying, Brother Lin, I won't give you anything else. This jade token is reserved for the auction box of the Li family in the extreme north. You can use any of the private boxes from VIP box 1 to 10, even if it's reserved by others. In addition, this is also a VIP token of the extreme North Island. As long as you spend anything on the extreme North Island, you can enjoy a 40% discount. This was a good thing. At least it could provide a lot of convenience. Lin immediately accepted it with a smile, saying, Thank you, Brother Li. It just so happens that I want a private box to participate in the auction. It would be impolite to refuse. You said it yourself. We're brothers, there's nothing much to say. It's just a jade token. If I had to say, this thing isn't even enough to smell the yin and yang pill. Li Ziyu laughed and waved his hand. In just a few words, it was as if he had known Lin Yi for many years. He spoke very casually. Zheng Dongjue saw that Li Ziyu was very happy, so he carefully came over and asked, Young Island Master, since the matter just now has been settled, do you think our pill hall doesn't need to leave? And my cousin's grandnephew? Li Ziyu glanced at Lin. If Lin Yi had the intention to let them go, he didn't mind doing him another favor. Unfortunately, Lin Yi turned his head and had no intention of caring about this matter. In this way, Li Ziyu naturally understood what to do. His face immediately darkened and he said, Your pill hall still has to leave. We'll talk about it when the pill god comes in the future. As for the two of them, they dared to deceive and use this young master. It's already giving them face by not killing them on the spot. You'd better pray for more luck. Chapter 5890. Brother Li, please go ahead. When the island master recovers, I will pay him a visit. Lin Yi smiled and cupped his fists. The island master of the extreme North Island was not someone anyone could meet. However, in his opinion, it was very normal. The reason why he paid a visit was because of Li Ziyu. Otherwise, who would be so happy to look for trouble? The two did not continue to talk. Li Ziyu was indeed in a hurry to go home to save the old man. Therefore, he took the yin and yang elixir and left with the northern guard. Zheng Dongjue also left in a daze. He and the people of the Dan Hall could only stay on the extreme North Island for one night. If they could not find a solution before dawn, everyone, including Li Ziyu, would be expelled from the extreme North Island by the Northern Guard. If that really happened, his position as the deputy hall master of the Dan Hall would come to an end. He would be drowned by the people of the Dan Hall even if he did not atone for his sins with his death. Hou Guanqi, who was a good friend of Lin Yi, might be the only one who could stay in the extreme North Island. Maybe when he returned, Zheng Dongjue's position as the deputy hall master would be replaced by Hou Guanqi. He could not sit still and wait for death. He had to find a way to reverse the situation. In any case, he had to discuss with Tong Wulsui first. After Li Ziyu returned, he immediately fed the yin and yang elixir to Li Zixiang. After the elixir dissolved, it quickly took effect. Especially this yin and yang elixir was a top-grade elixir, its effect was even more extraordinary. In less than 30 minutes, Li Zixiang's injury had recovered by 70% to 80%. Seeing that Li Zixiang's breath was becoming more and more stable, Li Ziyu's worries were finally swept away. He was naturally more grateful to Lin Yi. If Lin Yi did not take out the yin and yang elixir, Li Zixiang estimated that he could only hold on for 7 or 8 days at most. For the entire extreme North Island, the island master was an important figure. Even if he did not manage the affairs and cultivated in seclusion all year round, he was still a strong deterrent. If he lost Li Zixiang, Li Ziyu knew that he could not support the extreme North Island. "Old man, have you recovered? Do you feel uncomfortable anywhere?" Li Ziyu had been guarding his father from the side. When he saw Li Zixiang open his eyes, he immediately moved forward with a smile on his face. However, when he opened his mouth, he forcefully restrained his smile and pretended to be indifferent as he casually asked. Li Zixiang pretended not to see the fleeting smile on his face. This kid had been like this since he was young. He would never tell him what he was thinking. Li Zixiang could only play along. "It's all right. I'm more or less healed. Kid, you're pretty good this time. You found the yin and yang pill for me so quickly. You've made some progress." The corners of Li Zixiang's mouth curled into a faint smile, but it quickly disappeared. He spoke with the same indifferent expression. This pair of father and son were the type of people who would die if they didn't put on an act. Fortunately, no outsiders saw them, otherwise they would definitely treat them as a joke. Li Ziyu snorted twice and said, "Of course. Don't you see who did it? This kind of small matter, I can just casually arrange someone to go out and settle it. Only you would think that it's difficult. All right, since you're fine, I'll go out and find some friends to play. It's really unlucky. I was originally prepared to be the Island Lord, but it seems that the word Island Lord in front of the title will have to be used for many years. Brat, if you want to be the Island Lord, just say it. At most, I'll be the Island Lord. How about it? Do you want to do it?" Li Zixiang glared at his son, but he was very touched in his heart. Although the yin and yang pill wasn't a heaven-defying pill, because the two main ingredients were very difficult to find, and the refining conditions were also quite harsh, it wasn't something that could be casually arranged by someone. Don't be fooled by Li Ziyu's understatement, as if it was very easy. Li Zixiang knew in his heart that it definitely wasn't that easy. What was even more rare was that Li Ziyu actually brought back a special grade top-grade yin and yang pill. This was the most important thing. Because Li Zixiang had been injured for a long time, he had been suppressing and delaying it, causing his injuries to worsen very quickly. If Shang Wani's injuries, which had killed him in 24 hours on the ancient battleship, were 10 points, then Li Zixiang's injuries, which he had suppressed for so long, were already 90 points. Even if Li Ziyu could obtain a top-grade yin and yang pill, it would only allow Li Zixiang to recover 70 to 80%, but he would never have the chance to fully recover. Even if he could survive this time, his lifespan would be greatly shortened. At most, he would only have 10 to 20 years left, not to mention the middle grade. Fortunately, Li Ziyu didn't know where he got the yin and yang pill from. It was actually a top-grade yin and yang pill. Not only did it heal Li Zixiang's injuries, after he recovered, his strength might even improve. This was really a blessing in disguise. Li Ziyu curled his lips in disdain and said, "Old man, you are the Island Lord, but in the end, you are still in charge of me. In the end, I am the scapegoat, and you are the one showing off. TSK, do you really think I'm stupid? I'll just wait slowly. When you are completely finished, then I will justifiably become my Island Lord. Brat, do you believe that I won't beat you up? I am so handsome and elegant. Which eye of yours can see that I look like an old man? In the past, I saw that you were young, so I endured it. Now that you are not young, I can't bear it anymore." Li Zixiang scolded with a smile and stood up as if he was going to beat someone up. Li Ziyu rushed out and shouted as he ran, "You damn old man, I just saved you and you want to beat me up. If I had known earlier, I would have put some laxatives in the yin and yang elixir. You damn old man, you'll die of diarrhea." Before his voice fell, Li Ziyu had already rushed out of the courtyard where Li Zixiang was. At this time, a happy smile appeared on his face. Looking at Li Zixiang's appearance, he knew that his injuries were not serious. He could also play in peace. In the room, Li Zixiang's face also showed a smile that was very similar to Li Ziyu's. If someone could see these two people's smiling faces at the same time, they could be sure that these two strange father and son were definitely biological. Li Xiu, who was in a good mood, went out of the house. His trusted northern guard followed him. One of them stepped forward and asked, "Young Island Lord, is the Island Lord all right?" Chapter 5891. The northern guard next to him snickered secretly. They were all old members of the Li family. Of course, they knew how the father and son got along. However, no one would expose Li Xiu. He was obviously very filial to Li Xiu, but he had to act like a disobedient and unfilial son in front of him. Within the Li family, if anyone said that Li Xiu was filial, he would definitely be angry. But outside, if anyone said that he was filial, he would be very happy. This kind of unpredictable mind, if it was not an old man who had followed him for many years, they would definitely think that he was a schizophrenic fool. "Young master, what should we do with the two guys you locked up? They dared to play with you like a monkey. Why don't we just kill them?" The confidant of the northern guard mentioned Jing Dongxing and his son again. They dared to fool the young master of the Li family in the extreme North Island. Li Xiu was not angry, but the people around him wanted to cut the two guys into pieces. Li Xiu slapped his forehead. Only now did he remember that there were still two bastards locked up. He was in a really good mood, so he did not want to argue with Jing Dongxing and his son. If it was not for the fact that Jing Dongxing and his son were targeting Lin Yi and the others, maybe he would have let them go. After thinking for a while, Li Xiu immediately said, "These two fellows are not good people. Instruct the brothers who are guarding them to beat them up a few times a day. It's best to beat them until their mothers can't recognize them. But don't beat them to death. When it's about time, feed them a pill. Do you understand what I mean?" "Yes, I will tell them now." As a confidant, the northern guard certainly knew what Li Xiu meant. After all, the young master of the Li family was a relatively kind-hearted person. For those who offended him, he just needed to torture them and teach them a lesson. If it were someone else who was more ruthless, even if they didn't kill the father and son of the Zheng family, they would definitely cripple their cultivation first, and then cripple them. Perhaps, they would even be chopped up and fed to dogs in the end. Li Xiu thought for a moment and added, "Let's do it this way first. When the auction is over, I will see how it goes. I'll ask my Lin brothers later and see if he has any ideas. If he wants to kill these two guys, it'll save us a lot of trouble." "Understood." The North Guard bowed and agreed. In his heart, he was thinking that he should tell his men not to offend Lin. He even had to pay attention to the people around him. Otherwise, if they offended the young island master, although they wouldn't die, they would definitely be very unlucky. At the same time, Zheng Dongjue finally met up with Tong Wulsuo. The agitated Zheng Dongjue did not have time to talk nonsense, so he went straight to the point and immediately asked, "Wulsuo, how do you think we should deal with this matter?" Tong Wulsuo frowned slightly as he paced back and forth in the room. His plan was originally perfect, but for some reason, he kept making mistakes and ended up in such a passive situation. Originally, he wanted to make a fuss about Lin Yi's Wangshan elixir and attack Hou Guanqi's position in the alchemy hall. He did not expect that Hou Guanqi would be fine, but Zheng Dongjue would soon lose his footing in the alchemy hall. After Tong Wulsuo stood still, he bowed slightly to Zheng Dongjue and said, "Deputy Hall Master, this matter can be big or small. Let's not talk about how to save Master Zheng and young Master Zheng. The first thing we need to deal with is how to solve the crisis of our alchemy hall. If the alchemy hall is expelled, then the reputation of the alchemy hall will be completely destroyed. Even if the hall master does not pursue the matter, it will be impossible for us to continue to stand in the alchemy hall." Zheng Dongjue said impatiently, "I know all this. Hurry up and tell me what to do. We don't have much time. If we don't have countermeasures before dawn, we will be completely finished." Tong Wulsuo said unhurriedly, "Because of this, we have to deal with it calmly. First of all, Deputy Hall Master, you have to find the connections of Zhongdao and ask them to mediate at all costs. Secondly, Master Li Zaoi is also a member of our alchemy hall. Although she was implicated this time, she will also be in trouble if the alchemy hall is in trouble. She also has to come forward for this matter." Zheng Dongjue didn't wait for Tong Wulsuo to finish and interrupted him with a frown. It's not a problem for me to find someone to mediate, but Li Zaoi is not someone I can persuade, and if she comes forward, it may not be of much use. Tong Wulsuo lowered his head and explained calmly, Li Zaoi's connections may not be as deep as the deputy hallmaster, but her ability is there. A genius mystic-grade alchemist, there will still be many people who are willing to gain her favor. Moreover, her purpose this time is to participate in the auction. If she doesn't show up, she will be expelled. I think she will know how to weigh the pros and cons. He had to admit that Tong Wulsuo's analysis was very reasonable. Zheng Dongjue thought that his future was dark before, but after listening to him, he suddenly felt that there was still a great chance to save it. Wulsuo, you did a good job. Without further ado, I will go to Li Zaoi now, and then visit Steward Song overnight. As long as Steward Song is willing to say a few good words in front of the Li family, maybe it can ease the relationship between us and young Island Master Li. After having a countermeasure, Zheng Dongjue immediately wanted to take action. There was not much time for him to waste before dawn. Tong Wulsuo quickly raised his hand to stop Zheng Dongjue and said, Deputy Hallmaster, please wait a moment. I haven't finished speaking yet. Say it. Zheng Dongjue realized that he was too eager. He now valued Tong Wulsuo very much, and whether he could turn the situation around was of great importance. He did not dare to make any mistakes, so he looked at Tong Wulsuo very solemnly. Tong Wulsuo sorted out his thoughts that were interrupted just now and said, Vice Hallmaster, if Island Master Li didn't get the yin-yang elixir this time, it would be useless for us to do anything. It's because Lin Yi took out the yin-yang elixir that we have a chance to redeem ourselves. Hearing Lin Yi's name, Zheng Dongjue suddenly frowned and said with displeasure, Why, do you think I should thank Lin Yi? Tong Wulsuo smiled bitterly and said, Of course not. What I mean is that after Lin Yi takes out the yin-yang pill, his influence on the Li family in the extreme north will be very great. If we just do what we just discussed, no matter what the final result is, as long as Lin Yi says a word, all our efforts will be in vain. Chapter 5892. If it wasn't for Tong Wulsuo's reminder, Zheng Dongjue really wouldn't have thought of this. Now that he understood, his expression changed. What should we do? With that bastard Lin Yi's personality, he definitely wouldn't give up the chance to kick us when we're down. Therefore, this subordinate is going to talk about the third point. Tong Wulsuo sighed in his heart. His plan had always been to deal with Lin Yi, but now he had to rely on Lin Yi to help him out. As a strategist, it really made him feel disheartened. Vicehead, it's not impossible to ask Lin Yi not to obstruct us or even say a few good words for us. In the Dan Hall, there are still people who have good relationships with Lin Yi. Not to mention the independent Five Elements Commerce Kai Zhongyang, just the Dan God's disciple Ho Guanqi is enough for Lin Yi to speak for the Dan Hall. Tong Wulsuo's thoughts were very clear. He wanted to make use of all the people and relationships he could before daybreak. Who cared if they were friends or foes before? Zheng Dongjue felt disgusted as if he had eaten a housefly. Did he have to beg Ho Guanqi to speak for him as the vice head of the Dan Hall? A long time ago, he and Zhang Liju's disciples were on bad terms, and after Lin Yi appeared, their relationship became even worse. This time, he even tried to plot against Kai Zhongyang and Ho Guanqi. It was fine to ask Li Zaoi for help, but asking Ho Guanqi was a bit too much. Tong Wulsuo sighed in his heart. Zheng Dongjue's expression clearly showed what he was thinking. As far as he was concerned, those who did big things didn't care about trifles, and it was necessary to be flexible. In such an emergency, asking Ho Guanqi for help was definitely a good thing. With Ho Guanqi's personality, as long as Zheng Dongjue let go of his arrogance, there was a high chance that he would ask Lin Yi for the Dan Hall. Zheng Dongjue didn't say anything, so Tong Wulsuo could only speak up himself. Vice head, I know Ho Guanqi. Why don't you let me do this? In fact, the most effective way would be for Zheng Dongjue to do it himself. Tong Wulsuo came here in secret, and he would try not to show himself if he could. Tong Wulsuo's identity meant that he wouldn't have many interactions with Ho Guanqi. Unfortunately, Zheng Dongjue wasn't a responsible man, so there was nothing he could do. Hearing Tong Wulsuo's suggestion, Zheng Dongjue actually breathed a sigh of relief and nodded. All right, then I'll leave Ho Guanqi to you. I'll go ask Li Zhaoyi myself. Is there anything else? If not, we'll split up. If it weren't for the fact that Tong Wulsuo's identity wasn't enough to talk to Li Zhaoyi directly, Jing Dongjue might have let him do this as well. Tong Wulsuo wondered if he was lucky or unlucky to be following a master like this. No matter what, the decision was made now. The two didn't say much and split up to find their own targets. Zheng Dongjue went to find Li Zhaoyi first, but unfortunately, Li Zhaoyi didn't return. He encountered such a small probability event. His luck was really bad today. He had no choice but to find Steward Song first and talk to Li Zhaoyi when he came back. Although it was already night, there were many people who came to visit Steward Song. Zheng Dongjue was also secretly complaining. Those who came to the extreme North Island were basically big shots from all sides. In terms of status, no one was much worse than anyone else. He couldn't cut the line even if he wanted to, so he could only wait obediently. Fortunately, the people who came to visit Steward Song basically just paid a visit, pulled some strings, and then left. After waiting for more than half an hour, it was finally Zheng Dongjue's turn, who was burning with anxiety. After entering the living room, Steward Song sat on the main seat without any intention of standing up to greet them. Zheng Dongjue had a favor to ask, so he could only quickly walk forward with a smile and cupped his fists to greet him. Steward Song, long time no see. You look more energetic. It seems that your cultivation has improved again. Steward Song raised his eyes and glanced at Zheng Dongjue indifferently. Deputy Hall Master Zheng, my aptitude is poor. I haven't made any progress for many years. I'm really embarrassing myself in front of you. Zheng Dongjue was speechless. The atmosphere of this conversation was not quite right. I heard that Deputy Hall Master Zheng schemed against my young island master as soon as you came. You're really capable and scheming. Compared to Deputy Hall Master Zheng, I'm really old. Meeting you today can be considered as ending our relationship of many years. All right, since Vice Hall Master Zheng is leaving tomorrow morning, you should go back and pack your things. This old man is busy with work, so I will send you off here. Steward Song said coldly and raised his hand, intending to send the guest off. Zheng Dongjue turned pale with fright. He thought that Steward Song was willing to see him, so there was still some hope. Why was he chasing him away after just a few words? Steward Song, we've been friends for many years. Won't you feel regretful if we can't see each other in the future? Zheng Dongjue wasn't very scheming, but he was very familiar with this kind of interaction. As he spoke, his body had already rushed forward. Before Steward Song could send the guest off, Zheng Dongjue reached out and grabbed his hand. A green spiritual jade card was secretly sent into Steward Song's palm. On the surface, it looked like two old friends who hadn't seen each other for many years were greeting each other warmly. Steward Song's eyes swept over the trace of green in his palm. His face instantly turned as white as the spring wind, and he revealed a smile that Zheng Dongjue was familiar with. Deputy Hall Master Zheng is right. We've been old friends for many years, and we might not have the opportunity to meet each other in the future. Before we part, we should have a good gathering. Steward Song smiled as he retracted his hand and put away the spiritual jade card that was worth 500,000 spiritual jade without anyone noticing. Someone, bring some tea for Deputy Hall Master Zheng and more spiritual fruits and pastries. Why don't you have any eyesight? You're all trash. Steward Song raised his voice and said to the attendant outside the door. Then he said politely to Zheng Dongjue, Deputy Hall Master Zheng, please take a seat. Don't blame me for neglecting you. We've been old friends for many years. Let's have a good chat about the past. We might not have the opportunity to do so in the future. Zheng Dongjue's heart was filled with hatred. He knew that this old thing meant that the spiritual jade card was only enough for him to have a cup of tea and some pastries. Then, everyone could reminisce about the past. As for other matters, he didn't have to say it out loud. Fortunately, Zheng Dongjue also knew that this old thing with the surname Song was someone who was greedy for money. As long as there was spiritual jade, he would be willing to help. Chapter 5893. Now that he had offered 500,000 spiritual jades, it was only enough for a cup of tea. It was obvious that this old thing had grasped his weakness and took the opportunity to raise the price. Unfortunately, Zheng Dongjue had no choice but to agree. After secretly clenching his teeth, Zheng Dongjue secretly sent out a cyan spiritual jade card. This time, he had brought enough spiritual jades to the northernmost island. However, when he was on the ancient warship, he had already spent 15 million spiritual jades in order to cheat Lin Yi. Now, he had to give away another 1,500,000 spiritual jades. Even he couldn't help but feel a little distressed. Seeing that Steward Song was satisfied with the spiritual jade card, Zheng Dongjue forced a smile and said respectfully, "Brother Song, I won't say any nonsense. This matter is really just a misunderstanding. We're also old friends. For the sake of our many years of friendship, you must help your brother." Steward Song frowned slightly. He was a greedy person, but since he had taken the spiritual jades, he would still do something. Of course, he knew what Zheng Dongjue wanted him to do, but he really couldn't guarantee this matter. As for the many years of friendship? Without spiritual jades, who would be friends with you? Brother Zheng, in the northernmost island, other matters can be settled with just a word from you. However, this matter concerns the young island master. To tell you the truth, this matter is not something I can interfere with. At most, I can help you put in a good word for the young island master. Whether it succeeds or not depends on the young island master's mood. Caretaker Song was rather straightforward. At this point in time, only a fool would want to take on more spirit jades and try to take on everything. However, when Zheng Dongjue heard this, he felt relieved. At least, since Steward Song said this, it meant that he would really do it and not just do it half-heartedly. After expressing his gratitude, Zheng Dongjue pondered for a moment and said, "Brother Song, I know that it is very difficult for you to plead for the young island master. However, I still have a presumptuous request. If it is convenient, can Brother Song help introduce me to the young island master?" There are some words. Steward Song immediately revealed a displeased expression and said, "Brother Zheng, I'm only willing to risk offending the young island master to help you on account of our many years of friendship. If you're thinking of going overboard, don't blame me for not helping you." It didn't matter if he put in a good word for Zheng Dongjue in front of Li Ziyu. It wouldn't affect Steward Song's position. However, if he helped Zheng Dongjue, there was a high chance that he would get into trouble and make Li Ziyu unhappy. Of course, Steward Song wouldn't do such a thing even if he was beaten to death. Zheng Dongjue spat harshly in his heart. He thought to himself, "What kind of friendship are you looking at? I have to charge 500,000 spirit jades to eat some trash tea and snacks. You old thing, you are simply black from the bottom of your heart." However, he also understood that the surname Song would definitely not help him meet Li Ziyu. No matter how much spirit jades he offered, it wouldn't be of any use. Without a choice, Zheng Dongjue could only settle for the next best thing. He cupped his fists and pleaded, "Brother Song, then please help me pass a message to the young island master. Perhaps the young island master will change after hearing it." Steward Song calculated in his heart. This matter didn't matter, so he nodded and said, "Tell me about it first. If it isn't any bad news, I will definitely help you as a brother." If he had such a brother, Zheng Dongjue felt that he would be better off being a lone star. After looking around, Zheng Dongjue apologized and approached Steward Song. He whispered in his ear, "Brother Song, actually, the person who came from our pill hall is Master Li Ziyu." When the inaudible voice entered Steward Song's ears, his expression changed slightly. He asked solemnly, "Is what you said true?" "It's absolutely true." Zheng Dongjue was equally solemn. He originally wanted to do as Tong Wulsui said and persuade Li Ziyu to come forward and ask for help. However, he felt that there was no need to go through so much trouble now because he, Zheng Dongjue, knew a piece of information that even Tong Wulsui didn't know. He reckoned that after Li Ziyu heard it, he would definitely consider it carefully. "Alright, I understand this matter. I will go find the young island master now. Brother Zheng, you go back first and wait for my news." Steward Song swept away his previous lazy look, and his entire aura became sharp. After he finished speaking, Steward Song ordered his men to close the door and reject all guests. He would not be receiving anyone today. Zheng Dongjue hurriedly got up and cupped his fists. "In that case, I will go back and wait for Brother Song's good news. Goodbye." After returning, Zheng Dongjue went to look at Li Xiaoyi's residence again. Whether it was to ask for her help to find someone or her information was leaked, he had to mention it subtly first. Unfortunately, Li Xiaoyi still didn't return. As for Tong Wulsui, he also didn't return. Zheng Dongjue didn't know if his matter with Hou Guanqi was successful. It had been a long time, so there should be news from him by now. Zheng Dongjue suppressed his anxiety and paced back and forth in the room for about half an hour. After that, a Northern Army guard rushed to him and informed him, "The young island master wants you to go there immediately." Zheng Dongjue was overjoyed. He knew that Steward Song had brought the message. The 1.5 million spiritual jades were worth it. As for whether to ask or invite him over, who would care about such a trivial matter? Zheng Dongjue followed the Northern Army Guard to the Li family's residence. He had simulated how to deal with it countless times, but he still didn't have much confidence in himself. Suddenly, he felt a little regretful. He should have told Tong Wulsui the news before. At least, Tong Wulsui would know how to make better use of the news and how to answer Li Ziyu's questions. Unfortunately, it was too late now. After arriving at the Li family's residence, someone naturally brought Zheng Dongjue to the living room to see Li Ziyu. After Zheng Dongjue crossed the threshold and confirmed Li Ziyu's position, he quickly lowered his head and bowed respectfully. He cupped his fists and greeted, "Zheng Dongjue greets the young island master." If the dignified deputy hall master of the alchemy division was seen bowing and scraping, the reputation of the alchemy division would probably be no better than being expelled from the extreme North Island. Steward Song stood by the side and looked down, pretending not to see Zheng Dongjue. As for Li Ziyu, he sat on the host's seat and waved his hand lazily. "There's no need for formalities. You should know why I called you here, right? Thank you for your advice, young island master. I am very grateful." Zheng Dongjue slightly straightened his body, still looking down and maintaining a humble posture. Chapter 5894. Zheng Dongjue hurriedly bowed again and cupped his fists. He vowed solemnly, "Young island master, don't worry. What I said is true. If there is anything that I have deceived young island master, I am willing to be cut into pieces and die." Li Ziyu nodded. It seemed that this old man was not lying since he was willing to make such a vicious oath. "I need to tell my old man about this. You guys wait here." Li Ziyu did what he thought. He turned around and went in. Zheng Dongjue wanted to thank Steward Song, but seeing that he had no intention of moving, he probably didn't want to have any communication with Zheng Dongjue here. So the two fell into silence and stood quietly in the living room, waiting for Li Ziyu to come back. Li Ziyu ran to the room where Li Zaixiang was in seclusion. He pushed the door open and said, "Old man, I have something to talk to you about." "Brat, don't you know how to knock before coming in? Do you want me to go crazy again?" Li Zaixiang glared and scolded, but he didn't care at all. Li Ziyu knew that he had just recovered and wouldn't cultivate again for a while. If he really encountered him in seclusion, Li Ziyu would never do this. "If you are so easy to go crazy, then you should just die. Let me ascend to the position of island master as soon as possible so that I don't have to help you find elixirs to save your life all day." Li Ziyu didn't care and talked nonsense. In the outside world, which son dared to talk to his father like this, he would have been punished 100 times. Li Zaixiang scolded with a smile, "Brat, you only know how to think about the position of island master all day long. Hurry up, don't talk nonsense. Finish the business and get lost." "Tizke, do you think this young master wants to come to your broken place?" Li Ziyu looked at him with disdain. Then he briefly explained the matter of the Zheng family and Lin Yi. Li Zaixiang finally understood that the process of obtaining the yin-yang pill was a rather complicated one, but it was still a good thing. If it weren't for the yang pole grass and yin core fruit being refined into a yin-yang pill by Lin Yi, it wouldn't have been easy for him to obtain a special quality yin-yang pill. It was just a stalk of extreme yang grass and a core yin fruit. Even if the alchemists of the extreme North Island were able to successfully refine them, the quality could not be guaranteed. "Brat, you've handled things pretty well. Although you're a little too lenient, it's still the eve of the auction. It's good enough that no lives are lost." After Li Zaixiang finished listening, he lightly commented, "If it was him, the island lord, Jing Dongxing and Jing Tianqing's bones would have already turned cold. How could they be so lucky to be locked up in prison and waste food? However, he was very satisfied with Li Ziyu's way of dealing with it. The extreme North Island was always a money-squandering place. It was necessary to maintain a good relationship with all forces. A benevolent island lord might not have enough deterrence, but it was enough to maintain the prosperity of the extreme North Island. Old man, are you listening to what I'm saying? I'm not asking you to comment on what I've done. I'm talking about the Hall of Elixirs. Li Ziyu said with a face of dissatisfaction, but in his heart he was laughing at his father's small compliment. Li Zixiang laughed, and his aura slowly rose. It's just a small vice-head of the Hall of Elixirs, it doesn't matter how we deal with him. Even if Zhang Liju came personally, he'd have to be polite to us, the extreme Northly House. Who does that Zheng guy think he is? Just kill him and feed him to the dogs. Li Ziyu rolled his eyes. Old man, can't you be more serious? Don't bring up that idiot Zheng, okay? I'm talking about the disciple of the pill saint. Are you really going to kick him out? Isn't that too disrespectful to the pill god Zhang Liju? Dumb kid, don't you know what to do? What's there to ask? But if the girl you're talking about is really Zhang Liju's disciple, I can let her diagnose me and see if my injuries can be healed. Li Zixiang smiled. He indeed wasn't afraid of Zhang Liju, but there was no need to offend him. Li Ziyu was startled. The old man's injuries hadn't healed yet? Your injuries haven't healed yet? Even the special yin-yang pill can't heal you? Li Ziyu was panicking inside, but on the surface, he pretended that he didn't care. Only when he spoke, there was a slight tremble that even he himself didn't notice. It completely revealed his feelings. Li Zixiang, on the other hand, could tell that he felt warmth in his heart. He laughed loudly. Don't worry, I won't pass the island master position to you so soon. If you want to take over, you'll have to wait. Let that girl have a look. It's mainly some old injuries from the past, and some hidden injuries from training. If she really is the disciple of the pill saint, then these small problems can naturally be healed. TSK, I'm young and strong, can I wait? What a joke. Li Ziyu waved his hand in disdain, but in his heart he was greatly relieved. As long as it wasn't the injuries from the previous cultivation deviation, it would be fine. Li Zixiang waved his hand. All right, go ask that girl to have a look. After that, you can do whatever you want with the elixir hall, don't worry. After a slight pause, Li Zixiang reminded, no matter what you're planning to do, it's best to inform the elixir master, Lin. To be able to create a special yin-yang pill by himself, this person is definitely not simple. He might even be the next Zhang Liju. It's best to be able to get to know someone like this. And from what you've said, he's also an extremely good friend. Remember, people who work for benefits can betray each other at any time. So, you have to make friends with people like him sincerely. Don't try to tie him down with some benefits. Damn old man, you're getting more and more naggy. Do I need you to teach me how to make friends? Don't look down on me, okay? Li Ziyu interrupted impatiently, but in his heart, he felt that what the old man said was very reasonable. Otherwise, he wouldn't have waited until he was almost done before interrupting. Li Zixiang paused slightly, then smiled faintly. Indeed, his son was already grown up. No matter what, he had to let him think and decide by himself. The future island master of the extreme North Island wasn't a puppet without his own thoughts. As a father, all he had to do was to silently watch his son's growth. When the time was right, he would help him get rid of some troubles that shouldn't appear around him. Chapter 5895. Back in the living room, Steward Song and Zheng Dongjue were still in the same posture as when Li Ziyu left. After Li Ziyu sat down, he said to Steward Song, Uncle Song, why are you still standing? I already said that you don't need to be restrained at home. Hurry up and sit, otherwise, if the old man finds out, he will beat me up. Steward Song laughed and said, Young master, you don't have to worry about me. I'm used to standing. Sitting is uncomfortable. My arms and legs are old, it's better to stand more. Uncle Song, how are you old? You look much younger than my old man. Li Ziyu said with a laugh and no longer cared about him. Steward Song was the steward of the northernmost island. At the same time, he was also the steward of the Li family. Although he was still a servant, Li Ziyu had never treated him as a servant. He had always been very upright. Wherever the Li family was, he, as a steward, would never sit down, no matter how many times he said it. Li Ziyu was also used to it. Anyway, he would say it every time. It would be strange if he didn't say it. He turned to look at Zheng Dongjue and said, "Deputy Hall Master Zheng, my old man said that he is still a little uncomfortable. If what you said before is true, then let the successor of the divine pill medical sage, Li Zaoi, come and treat my old man. Whether it is true or false, we will know after a test. If it is false, you know the consequences." Zheng Dongjue quickly bowed and said, "No problem, I will go back and find Master Li Zaoi to diagnose Island Master Li. Young Island Master, please wait for a moment." At this time, of course, he would not be stupid to talk about any conditions. As long as Li Zaoi could cure Li Zaixiang, then everything before would naturally be written off. Moreover, this was much better than letting Li Zaoi appear in public and use a favor in exchange for a chance to plead. Zheng Dongjue couldn't help but praise his wit. After Zheng Dongjue left, Li Ziyu got up and said to Steward Song, "Uncle Song, I have to go out. You wait here. If Zheng Dongjue and the others come, you can directly bring that girl to find my old man. I should be back soon." "Yes, young master." Steward Song bowed respectfully and agreed. He did not ask where Li Ziyu was going or what he was going to do. He played his role as a servant to the extreme. Li Ziyu nodded. As he walked out, he didn't forget to say, "Uncle Song, if you have nothing to do, just sit for a while and drink some tea. Don't keep standing, it makes me tired." "Yes, young master, I understand." When Li Ziyu went out, of course, he went to find Lin. Originally, he could let someone bring a message for such a trivial matter, or he could write a letter clearly stating the reason and ask someone to send it. As the dignified young island master of the extreme North Island, there was no need for him to personally make a trip for such a trivial matter. However, he remembered his old man's words. Since he really wanted to make friends, he had to show his sincerity. The Zheng family was insignificant. Li Ziyu didn't want to have any grudges with Lin Yi because of such a small matter. It was best to make things clear face to face. When Lin Yi heard that Li Ziyu came again, he was a little surprised. This was the first time he came to get the yin and yang elixir. After that, he came to drink some wine. This was the third time today, right? This person was a little too enthusiastic. In any case, Li Ziyu was considered a good guy. Lin Yi also felt that he was a person who could be a friend, so he immediately came out to welcome him. "Brother Li, it's so late. Is there anything?" Lin Yi saw Li Ziyu coming in with a few guards when he came out. He immediately cupped his fists and asked. Li Ziyu didn't stand on ceremony. He laughed and pulled Lin Yi and said, "There is a small matter. Let's go in and talk. Is it convenient?" Lin Yi nodded and let Li Ziyu in. After they sat down, they didn't talk nonsense and went straight to the point. Li Ziyu scratched his head and said without beating around the bush, "Brother Lin, it's like this. I want to ask if you have any opinion on how to deal with the pill hall. Because of some unforeseen events, the original decision may be changed. Of course, if Brother Lin feels that it's better to maintain the original judgment, I have no opinion." Lin Yi didn't mind it at all. Ho Guanqi came to greet him just now, asking him to plead for the pill hall when the time was right. After all, Zheng Dongjue didn't represent the pill hall. Li Ziyu taking his anger out on the pill hall because of House Zheng was really wronged. No matter what, the pill hall was founded by Lin Yi's cheap master. As the saying goes, don't look at the monk, look at the Buddha. So he was looking for a chance to talk to Li Ziyu about this matter. He didn't expect Li Ziyu to come and bring it up directly. "Brother Li, this matter is up to you. I won't say much. However, the Pill Hall is one of the few organizations on the Heavenly Stage Island. Moreover, Island Master Li is fine. It's good to write off the previous matter." Lin Yi smiled and expressed his attitude. As for the Zheng family, it was not impossible to let them go. Li Ziyu was immediately overjoyed. "Brother Lin is indeed a generous person. Since that's the case, I will cancel the punishment of the Pill Hall. All right, those few fellows from the Zheng family, do you want to banish them alone?" Lin Yi wanted to say that it was not so troublesome. Just kill them directly. However, he also saw that Li Ziyu didn't have the intention to kill during the auction on the extreme North Island. At most, he would expel them from the island. Instead of that, it was better to let them go. Because of the expulsion of the 3 people of the Zheng family, Lin Yi was worried that they would go back to the Middle Island and directly find trouble with the Tiandan Pavilion. That would not be good. Although there was still the will of heaven on the Middle Island, it was really hard to guard against him alone. Especially when Han Jingjing's primordial spirit had not returned, he could not make the slightest mistake. In that case, it was more reassuring to keep them under his eyes. Anyway, they were just a few insignificant minions. There was nothing to worry about. If there was a chance, it would be more convenient to get rid of them. Brother Li is a truly benevolent and righteous person. Since the punishment of the pill hall has been cancelled, we might as well let them go, lest there is any gossip outside. Anyway, they are just a few insignificant people. It doesn't matter. Lin Yi said with a smile. In his heart, he was guessing how much Zheng Dongjue had paid to make Li Ziyu change his mind. However, Li Ziyu personally came to ask Lin Yi for such a small matter, which made him very touched. This young island master was really a good friend. Lin Yi remembered it in his heart. Chapter 5896. Lin Yi paused, not expecting Li Zaoyi to be Zhang Liju's inheritor. No wonder this girl was so good at elixir refinement at such a young age. Other than talent, she had the best inheritance. If that was the case, wouldn't Li Zaoyi be Lin Yi's junior sister? Of course, she could also be a senior sister. He didn't know if Zhang Liju was ranked according to age or who entered the sect first. He had to think about it carefully in the future. He couldn't just be the little disciple everywhere he went, could he? Li Ziyu didn't wait for Lin Yi to react and stood up to leave. Li Zaoyi should be coming to my house in a bit. My old man has some old injuries on him, and it's a good chance to test out this pill saint's inheritor. I'll be heading back now. Brother Lin, come and have a drink with me when you're free. I'll come find you when I'm free. Lin Yi wanted to say that his medical skills weren't bad, and if Li Zaixiang needed it, he could go and take a look as well. But he remembered that the people from the pill hall would be there tonight, so he didn't say it. He'd visit Li Zaixiang tomorrow. After leaving the courtyard of the 5 Elements Chamber of Commerce, Li Ziyu rushed back home and saw Zheng Dongjue bringing Li Zaoyi in. When Zheng Dongjue went back, Li Zaoyi was back. He didn't say much, just bringing up the name of the pill hall, and Li Zaoyi agreed to come and take a look at Li Zaixiang. He didn't know if she was pure and kind, or just stupid. She just didn't want the name of the pill hall to be tarnished. No matter what, Zheng Dongjue's goal was achieved. He had done all he could, and all that was left was this final shiver. As long as Li Zaoyi could show her medical skills, the pill hall's crisis, or more accurately, Zheng Dongjue's crisis, would be completely resolved. Li Ziyu was worried about his old man's injuries, and he quickly caught up to Li Zaoyi. He didn't have time to greet her and brought her to the back. As for Zheng Dongjue, he'd wait in the living room. The Li house's backyard wasn't a place anyone could go. Arriving at the room where Li Zaixiang was in seclusion, Li Zaoyi greeted him and began to feel Li Zaixiang's pulse. For ordinary injuries, she only needed to look, listen, and ask to cure them. Only for this kind of old and hidden injury, she needed to use genuine qi to feel the pulse in order to clearly grasp the most detailed situation. After a moment, Li Zaoyi let go of Li Zaixiang's wrist and said with a tranquil expression, "There are 3 old injuries on Island Master Li's body, all of which were caused by serious injuries that were not fully healed in his early years. In addition, there are 6 internal injuries caused by careless cultivation. These old injuries and internal injuries can no longer be healed by ordinary pills and medical techniques. In my opinion, only by using the recovery pill and the acupuncture technique of alloy needles in conjunction with treatment will we have an 80% chance of removing these hidden dangers." Li Zaixiang clapped his hands and said with a smile, "Master Li Zaoyi is really amazing. You can see my injuries so easily. To be honest, even I don't know it so well. Since Master Li Zaoyi has a treatment plan, there should be no problem with the treatment, right?" Before Li Zaoyi could speak, Li Zaixiang said in surprise, "Wait, Master Li Zaoyi is talking about recovery pill? Can this kind of elixir really be refined?" "Master Li, it seems that you have heard of recovery pill?" Li Zaoyi was not surprised. As the owner of the extreme North Island, it was not surprising that he knew about this kind of unorthodox elixir. Since you know about recovery pill, it's more convenient to talk about it. Li Zixiang sighed softly and said, if it's recovery pill, I'm afraid it won't be easy. The Li family in the extreme north has also collected this prescription, so I know the difficulty very well. Although Master Li Zawi is here, I don't think he can refine it, right? Li Ziyu hadn't seen the prescription of recovery pill, so he asked curiously, Old man, is the level of recovery pill very high? Is it a level 6 or 7 pill of the profound grade? Or is the main ingredient too rare? Li Zawi explained, the level of recovery pill is not high. It's just a level 1 pill of the profound grade, barely touching the threshold of level 2 of the profound grade. The main ingredient is also okay. It needs 2 kinds of best quality pills. One is the level 1 Jinfu Dan, and the other is the level 7 special quality Great Recover pill. In addition, other auxiliary elixirs are very easy to get. Li Ziyu couldn't help but take a deep breath. How could this girl say these words so casually? What did she mean by the main ingredient was also okay? Was it so easy to get the 7th grade Great Recover pill and the Jinfu Dan of the best quality? Ordinary medium or even superior grade Great Recover pill were very common, but the special quality of the best quality Great Recover pill was very rare, not to mention the Jinfu Dan. Even the superior quality was very difficult to see. After a slight pause, Li Zawi continued, in fact, the most troublesome thing about the recovery pill is the refining. This is the same as the yin-yang pill. It needs 2 people to cooperate in the refining. Fortunately, it doesn't need a man and a woman like the yin-yang pill, but the ability of these 2 alchemists must be extremely strong. Without the ability to multitask, it is absolutely impossible to successfully refine. Li Zixiang asked with interest, Master Li Zawi, can you tell me in detail? Although I have the recipe here, I don't know much about this aspect. Li Zawi nodded slightly and said, don't worry, Island Master Li. I originally wanted to explain. To refine the recovery pill, first 2 alchemists need to refine and decompose 2 kinds of best quality pills at the same time, then control the appropriate elixir liquid to fuse with the others. Not only can there be no mistakes during the decomposition, but the amount of the fusion must also be equal to the others. As long as there is a little difference, it is very likely to lead to the failure of the alchemy. I'm already being lenient by saying that they can multitask. In fact, it's not impossible to say that they can multitask 3 times. Li Zixiang shook his head and said, it seems that my injury really can't be cured. Let's forget about this matter. Although Li Zawi didn't say it, Li Zixiang could vaguely guess that if the 2 of them were so distracted in refining the recovery pill, the slightest carelessness was likely to cause a backlash, so he couldn't force them. In terms of difficulty, this recovery pill was comparable to the 3rd or even 4th grade of the mystic level. However, because 2 mystic level 1 alchemists could successfully refine the recovery pill, they might not be able to refine the 2nd grade of the mystic level alone, so it was still counted as a mystic level 1 pill. Chapter 5897. Master Li Zao, you must have a way, right? With your level of alchemy, as long as you can find a partner, you should be able to successfully refine the recovery pill, right? Li Ziyu didn't bother to hide his feelings and asked quickly. Li Zawi nodded faintly and said, if someone can cooperate with me, of course there is no problem. As for the 7th grade recovery pill and the recovery pill, as long as there are materials, I can also refine them. However, as long as Island Master Li is willing to pay, you should be able to buy these 2 pills. She said this because she knew that Lin Yi had helped people refine the recovery pill on the ancient battleship. Although he didn't reveal the quality of the pill, Li Zawi naturally believed that it was a special grade recovery pill. After all, in the restaurant later, all the pills that Lin Yi took out were of special grade, without exception. Thinking of Lin Yi, Li Zawi subconsciously said to Li Zixiang, as for the candidate for alchemy, besides me, there is another very suitable candidate. Island Master and young Island Master should be familiar with him, and that is Lin Yi. If Zheng Dongjue hadn't told Li Zawi in detail, she might not have known that Li Ziyu and the others knew about Lin. Now that there was the supreme grade yin and yang pill in front of her, Li Zixiang and Li Ziyu would definitely not refuse if she mentioned Lin Yi. Sure enough, Li Ziyu clapped his hands and said, "That's right. Lin Yi's alchemy level is also extremely high. If he and Master Li Zhao cooperate, it will be very easy to refine the recovery pill." Li Zixiang also nodded secretly. It was not strange that Li Zhaoyi and Lin Yi knew each other. They were all on the same boat. It seemed that the two of them had a good relationship. In this case, it was necessary to write off the matter of the pill haul. Li Ziyu also had the same thought. He was also wondering if Lin Yi did not pursue the matter at the pill hall because of Li Zhaoyi. However, he did not know that Lin Yi did not care about the Zheng family at all. If you can persuade Lin Yi to help you concoct pills, then Island Master Li's chances of recovery will be very high. If he is unwilling, then forget it. I will use the golden needle acupuncture technique to recuperate for Island Master Li. Although I can't cure those old and hidden injuries, it will make you feel better. Li Zi said calmly and then looked at Li Ziyu, meaning that he could go find Lin Yi quickly. Li Ziyu slapped his forehead. He was really busy today. If he had known earlier, he would have brought Lin Yi along. There was no other way. He could only continue to run for the fourth time. Lin Yi had just read a book in the room for a while when he found that young Island Master Li Ziyu, had arrived again. Without waiting for him to go out to welcome him, Li Ziyu directly knocked on the door and came in. "Brother Lin, I'm sorry to disturb you again. Today, I'm here to ask for your help. Please don't decline." Li Ziyu came up and grabbed Lin Yi's arm, saying a lot of things. Lin Yi smiled slightly and said, "Brother Li, feel free to speak up. I will definitely not decline if I can help. Why don't you tell me what's the matter first?" Li Ziyu's face was beaming with joy. He gave Lin Yi a thumbs up and said, "Good brother, good friend. Come, follow me first. I'll tell you in detail on the way." After saying that, he did not allow Lin Yi to object and pulled him out. As he walked, he explained the ins and outs of the matter to Lin Yi. A regeneration pill refined with 2 kinds of medicinal pills as the main ingredients? There is such a medicinal pill? Lin Yi was very surprised when he heard Li Ziyu's method of refining the regeneration pill. He really had never heard of such a prescription. Alchemy was really magical. There were still too many things to learn. Li Ziyu did not have much research on alchemy. He could only repeat it, but he could not discuss the problem of the prescription with Lin. He could only laugh and said, "Brother Lin's ability in alchemy is beyond doubt. This time, I want to ask you to cooperate with Master Li Zhao to refine the regeneration pill to treat my old man." "Brother Li, you flatter me. I still have to look at the prescription to know if I can refine it. If I can help, I will definitely not decline." Lin Yi knew his own situation. How could he really refine the pill? Without the automatic alchemy system, he couldn't even refine the first grade of the yellow level, let alone the first grade of the mystic level. Cooperating with Li Zhao to refine the pill was courting death. However, the prescription of the regeneration pill could be used for research. Maybe he could refine it by himself, just like refining the yin and yang pill. Since he regarded Li Ziyu as a friend, he certainly had to help him. Li Ziyu felt that it was normal that Lin Yi did not take on everything. If it were him, he would not say anything about a guarantee when the situation was unclear. Because of this, it seemed that Lin Yi was very serious. The two soon came to the room where Li Zixiang was in seclusion. Li Zhaoyi sat calmly on the side. When she saw Lin Yi coming over, she nodded to him. Lin Yi knew that she might be his senior or junior sister, so he also nodded politely in response. Junior Lin Yi greets the island master. Seeing Li Zixiang, he knew that he was Li Ziyu's father. It was not that they looked similar, but the temperament was exactly the same. Lin Yi regarded Li Ziyu as a friend, so Li Zixiang was naturally his senior, so his greeting was also very respectful. "Ha, nephew Lin is indeed a man of striking appearance. Since you are friends with this stinking brat, you don't have to be so polite. I will call you nephew, but if you don't mind, you can call me uncle." Li Zixiang did not put on airs at all. He got up and patted Lin Yi's shoulder, smiled and asked him to sit down. Li Ziyu snorted and said to Lin, "Brother Lin, don't mind him. This old man likes to be friendly. Don't worry about him. If you are happy, you can call him Old Man Li." Lin Yi was suddenly happy. This father and son were really weird. He saw that Li Ziyu was so concerned about Li Zaixiang before, so he thought that they were happy and harmonious. It turned out that it was not the case at all. Li Zaixiang laughed and scolded a few times, then said to Lin Yi seriously, "Nephew Lin, this time I invited you here because Master Li Zhaoyi proposed to refine the recovery elixir with you. If you have any difficulties, just say it. It doesn't matter." Lin Yi looked at Li Zhaoyi in surprise. He thought that Li Ziyu wanted to invite him and Li Zhaoyi to refine the elixir together, but he did not expect that it was Li Zhaoyi who proposed it. It seemed that this strange girl really wanted to refine the elixir with him. He thought that after he refused her proposal to refine the yin and yang elixir together last time, she would ignore him. Chapter 5898. Uncle Li, I can't be sure if I can refine the recovery pill. Brother Li said that you have the recipe for the recovery pill. Can you show me the specific content of the recipe first? Lin Yi turned around and said to Li Zaixiang with his fists cupped. No matter who made the proposal, Lin Yi couldn't agree. He came to see the recipe for the recovery pill and then go back to study it with the Shenong cauldron. Li Zaixiang was prepared. He picked up a roll of parchment on the side and handed it to Lin Yi. This is the recipe for the recovery pill. Nephew Lin, please take it. I already have a copy here. Keep it well. I don't dare to refuse an elder's gift. Thank you, Uncle Li. Lin Yi didn't act pretentious. Anyway, seeing it was equivalent to taking it. Regardless of whether he could successfully refine the pill or not, this recipe would always be his. It was fine as long as he felt grateful. After taking the parchment with both hands, Lin Yi opened it on the spot and looked at it carefully. Sure enough, the main ingredients were exactly the same as what Li Ziyu had told him. The only difference was the detailed proportion. After a while, Lin Yi put away the recipe and smiled slightly. Uncle Li, I have never come into contact with this recipe. After a rough look, I already feel that there are many mysteries in it, so I have to go back and study it carefully. For the time being, it is impossible to refine this recovery pill. Li Zaixiang waved his hand indifferently. It's okay. You can study it. In fact, my injuries have been for many years. There is no hurry at all. It doesn't matter even if it takes another year or so. What's more, we don't have the best quality recovery pill and the 7th grade recovery pill, so you don't have to have any psychological pressure. Lin Yi had both the best quality recovery pill and the 7th grade recovery pill, but he wasn't sure if he could refine the recovery pill. There was no need to say it now. Lin Yi smiled and nodded. Uncle Li, don't worry. As long as I have the confidence to refine the recovery pill, I will inform you immediately. I will give you an answer before the end of the auction. Li Zhaoyi looked at Lin Yi as if she wanted to say something. In the end, she just opened her mouth and still didn't speak. After chatting for a bit more, Lin Yi excused himself to study the recipe and got up to leave. Li Zhaoyi also said goodbye. Li Ziyu sent the two to the door and went back alone. He could tell that Li Zhaoyi had something to say to Lin Yi, so he didn't stay and disturb them. After Ziyu returned, Li Zhaoyi immediately said to Lin Yi, Lin Yi, this time you won't say you want to refine the recovery pill alone, right? Lin Yi shrugged. What's wrong with that? I admit that you are indeed a genius in alchemy. You can even refine the yin and yang pill, but the recovery pill is completely different. Even if you can multitask and do the work of two people, it is still impossible for you to refine the recovery pill alone. Li Zhaoyi's expression was very serious. When it came to alchemy, she could always put her heart and soul into it. Lin Yi smiled faintly and said, whether you can refine it by yourself or not, it's not up to you to decide. If you want to find someone to cooperate with, you can ask Li Ziyu to help you find one. I think there should be a suitable alchemist in the northern island who can cooperate with you. Li Zhaoyi was not angered by Lin Yi's obvious rejection. She said solemnly, I'm not joking with you. I can do 3 things at once, but it's not enough to concoct a recovery pill. The amount of mental energy and jinqi needed is not something you can imagine. Do you think you can use pills to recover when you're halfway through the process? As long as there is even the slightest fluctuation, the entire furnace of pills will be completely ruined. What's more serious is that the furnace will explode. Can you imagine how dangerous it is for the furnace to explode when the true qi is exhausted? Lin Yi was not worried about the true qi. He had a steady supply of it in the space of the jade pendant, so there was no need to worry about it at all. However, it was rare for Li Xiaoyi to speak so much at once, so he could not be too unreasonable. "Thank you for your reminder. I will pay attention." Lin Yi casually clasped his hands, thanked her, and turned to leave. Li Xiaoyi was suddenly angry. How could this person be like this? She had already told him so clearly. Did he still want to refine pills by himself? "Hey, are you listening to me carefully?" Li Xiaoyi stomped her feet hard and stepped forward to stop Lin. Her face, which had always been calm, also showed a hateful expression. Lin Yi was slightly stunned and said, "Didn't I say I would pay attention? Thank you for reminding me again. Now I have to go back. Is there anything else?" Li Xiaoyi was instantly speechless. She really wanted to beat up Lin Yi, but not to mention whether she could beat him, there did not seem to be a reason to do so. Seeing that she did not speak, Lin Yi waved his hand and went around to continue on his way. Other things were not important. It was more important to hurry back and study the elixir recipe of the regeneration pill. This time, Li Xiaoyi did not continue to chase after him. Lin Yi quickly returned to the cross-courtyard of the Five Elements Commerce. Kai Zhongyang, Wei Shenjin, and Hou Guanqi were all waiting for him. Just now, Li Ziyu directly pulled Lin Yi away, and they were still a little worried. Lin Yi briefly explained the situation and let them go back. There was no need to think too much. The matter of the pill haul had been resolved, and the two from the Zheng family had also been released. Everything was back to square one. This was not bad. After returning to his room, Lin Yi set up a restriction, took out the Shenong cauldron, and entered the elixir recipe of the regeneration pill into the automatic alchemy system. Discovered an unknown elixir recipe. Analysis showed abnormalities. Unable to generate elixir recipe. Please confirm the accuracy of the elixir recipe. The automatic alchemy system calculated for a long time and finally came to this conclusion. Lin Yi smiled bitterly as he picked up the elixir recipe of the regeneration pill. It seemed that there was nothing to confirm. The elixir recipe must be real. However, using 2 elixirs as the main ingredient was indeed very strange. No wonder the automatic alchemy system could not identify it. After carefully checking that there were no errors or omissions in the input of the elixir recipe, Lin Yi was a little unwilling to give up and started the automatic alchemy system again. He thought to himself, could this AI system have undergone its own evolution between the 2 analyses? Just like every time he refined elixir, it would summarize and modify the previous elixir so that each time it could be closer to perfection. It was because of this function that Lin Yi was able to create so many pills of the highest quality. Unfortunately, the analysis didn't work. Unfortunately, analyzing elixir recipes and refining elixirs were obviously not the same thing. The automatic alchemy system did not have this function to upgrade. Chapter 5899. Since he couldn't refine the recovery pill, Lin Yi could only put away the Shenong cauldron and continue to study the ancient books he bought. Soon the night passed. "Boss, is it convenient for you now?" After dawn, Wei Shenjin came to see Lin Yi early. He didn't know what happened. Lin Yi put away his things and opened the door to ask, "What's the matter?" Wei Shenjin shook his head and said, "Boss, it's not me. Li Xiaoyi from Alchemy Hall is here. She's waiting outside the door. She didn't say who she was looking for. I guessed she was looking for you, so I came to ask if you wanted to let her in." Lin Yi scanned with his divine sense and found Li Xiaoyi standing outside the door. If it weren't for the fact that she'd changed her clothes, he would have thought that this weird girl had been waiting outside the whole night. "I'll go and have a look. You can go and do what you need to do." Lin Yi waved his hand casually and walked out the door. Wei Shenjin scratched his head and thought that there was nothing to do so early in the morning. He might as well go and find Yuhua and stroll around the island in the far north together. Yes, he should tidy himself up first and then go to find Yuhua. It seemed that the boss was going to accompany Li Xiaoyi, so he could stroll around alone with Yuhua. Lin Yi came to the gate leisurely and waved at Li Xiaoyi. He smiled and said, "What a coincidence. Is Master Li Xiaoyi out for morning exercise?" Li Xiaoyi didn't understand what morning exercise was, and she didn't want to know. Seeing Lin Yi come out, she asked directly, Lin Yi, have you thought about it? You can't refine the recovery pill alone. We can only succeed if we work together. Uncle Li said there's no hurry. Why are you in such a hurry? Lin Yi curled his lips and looked at Li Xiaoyi strangely. He said, also, why do you have to cooperate with me? Didn't I say that if you want to refine the recovery pill, the island in the far north can definitely provide you with suitable candidates? Li Xiaoyi said matter-of-factly, I just want to see how you refine pills. Didn't you say you were the disciple of the elixir god Zhang Liju? I wouldn't want to work with anyone else. Lin Yi was speechless. So this is the problem. But what's with this chick's expression of, I'm giving you face, don't be ungrateful? Just who was it that wanted to collaborate on alchemy? I'm sorry, I'm naturally introverted and shy. I'm not used to concocting pills with others because I'll feel embarrassed when others look at me. There's no way for me to concoct pills, so collaborating with others to concoct pills is definitely out of the question. Lin Yi shrugged and casually spouted some nonsense. Li Xiaoyi gritted her teeth and glared at Lin. She thought to herself, how dare you say you're introverted when you're so thick-skinned? Shyness? Say I'm sorry? There should be a limit to being shameless, right? Lin Yi scratched his chin, feeling that his nonsense was a bit ridiculous, but it didn't matter, she could think whatever she wanted. At this point, Li Xiaoyi had nothing else to say. She had her own pride, and it wasn't her style to continue pestering him. Lin Yi waved his hand at her as a goodbye. He didn't want to go back to his room, either. He'd go to the auction house to do some stuff. He had a lot of spirit jades on him, but he needed a lot of things as well, so he had to prepare more. After a few steps, Lin Yi turned back and said helplessly, Master Li Xiaoyi, why are you still following me? I already said I wouldn't work with you on pill concoction. Li Xiaoyi blushed and glared angrily, who's following you? If you don't agree, then don't agree. Do you think I care? I'm going this way too. Are you the only one who can walk here? What she said made sense, and Lin Yi was speechless. He could only stand aside and say, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. You go first. Li Xiaoyi snorted, turned her head to look at the sky, and walked forward. Lin Yi was secretly amused. This weird girl still had a childish temper. It was quite interesting to look at her carefully. After walking for a while and turning 2 intersections, Lin Yi felt that something was wrong. Why were they walking the same way? Wasn't it now that he was following Li Xiaoyi? Li Xiaoyi obviously also noticed that Lin Yi had been following her, but she was too embarrassed to say anything, so the two of them walked strangely all the way. Fortunately, the auction house was not far from the courtyard where Lin Yi lived, so they soon appeared in front of him. Only then did Lin Yi confirm that the two of them were indeed going to the same destination. The two of them walked at almost the same speed. Lin Yi had no intention of deliberately avoiding Li Xiaoyi, so when they entered the auction house, they naturally went in together. There was a staff arranged by the auction house at the door, and he asked politely, "What can I do for you two?" The auction would start in a few days, so the people who came to the auction house now were basically here to send items for auction or to inquire about what items were up for auction. "I have something to send for auction." This sentence was said by Lin Yi and Li Xiaoyi at the same time, and the time and number of words were exactly the same. The two of them looked at each other and couldn't help but smile. The strange atmosphere became more and more obvious. It turned out that not only were their destinations the same, but even their purposes were the same. However, Li Xiaoyi felt that the things the two of them sent for auction would definitely be different. "Please follow me," the staff of the auction house said politely with a smile. He thought that the two of them were together, so he did not take them to different rooms separately. This was really not the staff's fault. Lin Yi and Li Xiaoyi came in together, spoke the same words, and smiled at each other. No matter how he looked at it, they were the same kind of people. If he said that they didn't know each other, the staff would definitely dig his eyes out and step on them. After entering a separate box, a special receptionist came over and asked, "Please take out the things you want to auction so that we can estimate the base price." Lin Yi deliberately did not speak this time, so as not to bump into Li Xiaoyi again. He did not expect that Li Xiaoyi seemed to have the same idea. As a result, the two of them fell into silence at the same time, making the staff look like a fool. The staff looked up at the two of them. Seeing that they still had no intention of speaking or taking out their things, he could only say again, "Please take out the things you want to auction so that we can estimate the base price. I want to auction a chance to refine pills." This time, the two of them spoke in unison again. The same timing, the same number of words, and the same content. Li Zhaoyi looked at Lin Yi with a strange expression, nodded lightly, and said, "Lin Yi, consider my suggestion again. I suddenly feel that if we cooperate, we will definitely succeed." Chapter 5900. The staff also noticed that something was wrong. He could only ask cautiously, "Are you two auctioning a chance to refine pills together? Or, one for me, one for her, we are not together?" Lin Yi said simply. He did not answer Li Zhaoyi's question. His attitude explained everything. Li Zhaoyi did not say much and nodded to the staff. This guy was a little speechless. How could two customers be brought to the same room to talk? Who the hell brought people in just now? Now that things had come to this, he could not let the two of them talk alone. Fortunately, these two people should know each other, so it was barely acceptable. "Are both of you respected alchemists? If it is an opportunity to auction alchemy, please fill in your information and base price. We will evaluate it and decide whether it can be auctioned." The staff said politely, and at the same time, handed 2 blank documents and a pen to the two of them. The reason why Lin Yi chose to auction the alchemy opportunity instead of the quenching spirit pill and the mountain gazing pill was because he tasted the sweetness on the ancient battleship. He knew that the auction price of the alchemy opportunity might be more profitable than selling the pills directly. Moreover, those pills could be used to exchange for something he needed in the future. Anyway, alchemy was not a problem for Lin Yi as long as it was not the recovery pill. Li Zhaoyi picked up the pen and began to write. In a few breaths, she had finished filling in the form and handed it to the staff. Although Lin Yi did not look over there, with a sweep of his divine sense, he naturally knew what Li Zhaoyi wrote. Li Zhaoyi wrote that it was a mystic level 1 pill and below, guaranteed pill formation, high quality and above, starting price of 1 million spirit jades. This condition was absolutely excellent. The starting price of 1 million spirit jades was like giving it away for free, but the final transaction price was definitely more than that. Lin Yi hesitated for a moment. He had written down similar conditions as well, so after seeing Li Zhaoyi's list, he added another line under the first level mystic, making it a second level mystic and below, guaranteed pill formation, high quality and above, starting price of 10 million spirit jades. Originally, Lin Yi had set the starting price at 1 million, but since the conditions had changed, the starting price naturally had to change as well, so he directly increased it by 10 times. A mystic level 2 superior grade pill was definitely worth this starting price. Almost no one would choose to refine a pill that was below, they would only choose a mystic rank level 2 pill. Li Zhaoyi looked at Lin Yi in surprise but didn't say anything. She just guessed that Lin Yi's last change was because he wanted to surpass her. But this guy didn't seem like such a shallow person. Li Zhaoyi could also refine mystic level 2 pills, but she did not intend to auction the opportunity to refine mystic level 2 pills, so after seeing Lin Yi's changes, she had no intention of following suit. After the guy at the auction house looked at the documents of the two people, he was also in awe. These two young men and women were actually mystic rank alchemists. Although both of them looked strange, it had nothing to do with him. He just needed to do his own thing. "Honorable alchemists, we accept your commission. As for the starting price of the auction, there may be some fluctuations. I wonder if you can accept our handling?" The staff asked respectfully. After all, they were the professionals in the auction. For example, Lin Yi's starting price of 10 million was not impossible, but if he lowered it slightly, it might be higher. "If I don't accept it, will I not be able to be auctioned?" Lin Yi asked faintly. Although he didn't care much, if the auction house casually changed his starting price, it would not be comfortable. The staff quickly shook his head and said, "Of course not, we are just slightly adjusting it according to the market. That will be more suitable for the auction. If you don't agree, we will not make any changes." Lin Yi nodded and said, "In that case, you don't have to change it. It doesn't matter how it is auctioned." Li Zhaoyi also expressed the same intention. Of course, the staff would not have any other opinions. Then he talked with the two of them. The commission collected by the auction house was 10% of the transaction price, which was a more reasonable price. Neither of them had any objections. After the agreement was reached, the alchemy opportunities of the two would appear on the auction list of the auction house. Those who were interested would naturally see it and then make preparations in the next few days. When the auction officially began, they would bid. Lin Yi and Li Zhaoyi only needed to wait for the money to refine pills. Before leaving the auction house, Lin Yi took a look at the latest auction list to see if there was anything he needed. Then, at a glance, he felt that the spirit jades he had might not be enough, because there were really a lot of good things. It seemed that he had to find a way to earn more spirit jades in the next few days. Li Zhaoyi did not leave the auction house with Lin Yi, but left first. Lin Yi also left after looking at the list for a while. Because there were divine sense restrictions everywhere in the auction house, he did not notice that Zheng Tianqing, who had just been released, was staying in a corner far away from the auction house. After Zheng Tianqing left, he came to the list and looked at it. After reading the latest list, Zheng Tianqing smiled and quickly left the auction house, returning to the residence of the Zheng family. "Grandpa, second grandpa, I saw that bastard Lin Yi in the auction house." As soon as he entered the door, Zheng Tianqing said eagerly. Zheng Dongsheng stared at him and said, "What's so strange about that? I'm warning you, don't provoke Lin Yi these days. He is a good friend of Li Zhu. It was not easy for us to get out, we can't fall again." During the time he was imprisoned by the Northern Guard, Zheng Dongsheng had suffered a lot. He was a dignified alchemist. When had he ever suffered like this? Although his injuries were healed after being released, the shadow in his heart could not be removed in a short period of time. Zheng Tianqing shrank his neck. He did not want to experience that kind of painful memory again, but when he saw Lin Yi, his heart was filled with resentment. If he did not kill Lin Yi, he would not be able to let it go. Zheng Dongjue waved his hand and said, "Cousin, you don't have to be too careful. Let's listen to what Tianqing has to say first." This time, the two of them could escape. Zheng Dongjue had contributed a lot, so Zheng Dongxing did not want to brush him off. He could only say to Zheng Tianqing, "Didn't you hear what your second grandpa said? Hurry up and say what happened to Lin Yi?" Chapter 5901. "So what?" Zheng Dongsheng said with dissatisfaction. Lin Yi's announcement of an auction for alchemy had nothing to do with them. "Grandpa, have you forgotten? We have already asked Lin Yi to refine pills several times on the ship. This guy must be an arrow at the end of its flight. This is the last time he will be able to refine pills in the near future. And do you know what conditions he issued? A mystic level 2 Dan, and a high-quality one at that. Don't you have any ideas?" Zheng Tianqing said with a slightly excited expression. Zheng Dongsheng and Zheng Dongjue's eyes also lit up. Although Zheng Dongxing just said not to provoke Lin Yi in the near future, if there was a chance to retaliate, he would be the first to not miss it. Tong Wolsuo, who was standing on the side, suddenly opened his mouth and said, "Young Master Qing means that we should find someone to invite Lin Yi to refine pills and let him use up all the recovery pills? This may be a little difficult. In any case, Lin Yi will leave a chance to refine pills. It is impossible for him to mess up this auction opportunity." Tong Wolsuo really disapproved of this kind of idea. Not to mention how many true qi recovery pills Lin Yi had. Even if he used them up, couldn't he continue to refine more? If he could use pills to recover, it meant that the pills refined once could support at least 2 or more refinements. This kind of strategy was really ridiculous. Taking a step back, even if Lin Yi really did not have the ability to complete the auction of the alchemy opportunity, so what? At most, he would just withdraw it. Anyway, the income from the pills sent to him in the past few days should be enough to make up for the auction of the opportunity, right? However, Tong Wolsuo could not say much about these speculations. Apart from offending Zheng Tianqing, it could not change anything. After all, this was just his speculation. Zheng Tianqing laughed and said, "Tong Wolsuo, don't worry, I will definitely be able to make Lin use up his last chance. There is no doubt about this." Zheng Dongsheng was overjoyed and quickly asked, "Tianqing, what good idea do you have? Hurry up and tell me." Zheng Tianqing's face was full of pride as he laughed and said, "Grandpa, I actually went to see Qian Xiaodong just now. Do you know what he brought this time? Ghost cicada wings. With this, do you think Lin Yi won't take the bait? For a moment, Zheng Dongxing and the others could not figure out how Lin Yi would take the bait with the ghost cicada wings. After all, this kind of thing was too obscure. Usually, very few people would use it, and they would usually not pay much attention to it. Zheng Tianqing didn't let them guess. He immediately said with a smile, "Grandpa, have you forgotten about the small trade fair held on the ancient battleship?" At the mention of the trade fair on the ancient battleship, the few of them suddenly understood. Ghost cicada wings. Wasn't it what Lin Yi wanted to exchange for? It was just that the exchange was unsuccessful, so Zheng Dongxing and the others didn't pay too much attention to it. Now that they were reminded by Zheng Tianqing, they naturally recalled it. Yes, Lin Yi really needs a material like the ghost cicada wings. If we have this thing, we can definitely make him take the bait. Zheng Dongxing looked happy and said with a laugh, "The only problem is, will Qian Shaodong take out the ghost cicada wings as bait?" Zheng Tianqing waved his hand and said, "Grandpa, you can rest assured about this. Don't forget that young Master Qian and Lin Yi also have conflicts. As long as we tell him that it is used to deal with Lin Yi, I am afraid he will be more enthusiastic about this matter than us. Although the ghost cicada wings are rare, there are also few people who need it. It is not so easy to sell it for a good price. Using it to trick Lin Yi can also get a greater profit than auctioning it. Young Master Qian will never refuse." Zheng Dongjue smiled and agreed, "Sky Crystal's idea is not bad, and this matter doesn't pose any danger to us. Whether it succeeds or not, Lin Yi won't blame us. After all, we are taking care of his business." "Ah, that's right. If we take care of his alchemy business, maybe he will come and thank us." Zheng Dongxing was in a good mood. He smiled and calculated, "This time we will find someone to ask Lin Yi to refine pills. The price of a second-grade profound-level pill is too high, so we only need a first-grade pill. With this kid's methods, I think it will be a special-grade pill. When the time comes, we will auction it. Not only will we not lose money, we might even make a lot of money. This business is good." On the ancient warship, because the few fellows found failed to find fault in the end, the Zheng family's investment was used as compensation and could not be recovered. This time they learned their lesson and obediently asked Lin Yi to refine pills. There was indeed a great chance that they could make a lot of money. Not only could they make money, but they could also set up a trap for Lin Yi. Furthermore, there was no danger. This kind of good thing, why not? Zheng Dongjue was very satisfied with this plan. This time, the pill hall brought a lot of elixirs. There were at least 10 kinds of elixirs that could be refined into first-grade profound-level pills. For the pill hall, auctioning pills was obviously better than auctioning elixirs. Maybe he could also use this opportunity to increase his reputation in the pill hall. However, after experiencing the events of the past 2 days, Zheng Dongjue had become more cautious. At the same time, he paid more attention to Tong Wulsuo. Even if this plan seemed perfect, he still did not dare to be too relaxed. "Wulsuo, what do you think of Heavenly Crystal's plan? Is there anything else that can be added?" Zheng Dongjue turned to look at Tong Wulsuo and asked in a pleasant manner. Tong Wulsuo smiled slightly and said, "Young Master Qing's plan is indeed feasible. Just now, this subordinate did not consider it thoroughly." In fact, Tong Wulsuo still had a disapproving attitude towards this plan. It was just that Zheng Dongjue asked if there was anything else that could be added. The implication was that he had already decided to implement it. Naturally, there was no need for him to say anything more. In any case, this plan would not bring any danger or trouble to the Zheng family. Although the probability of success was not high, what if they got lucky? Therefore, Tong Wulsuo planned to let nature take its course and wait and see. Zheng Tianqing was extremely proud in his heart. This Tong Wulsuo had always acted as if he was extremely smart. He had long been unhappy with him. Now that the plan he proposed made this guy speechless, the satisfaction he felt was really indescribable. Mr. Tong is really polite. This young master thought you would say that you can't determine when Lin Yi's last alchemy machine will appear. Having the ghost cicada wing is useless. Zheng Tianqing said with a ridiculing smile. It was rare to have such an opportunity. Of course, he wanted to be proud. Chapter 5902. If Lin Yi was really limited by the so-called qi recovery pills, it would be too easy to determine the last time. When he stopped accepting alchemy tasks, it would be the time to use the ghost cicada wings to lure him. Tong Wulsuo really didn't understand. What was the point of showing off about something so clear? Zheng Tianqing didn't know that he was secretly despised by Tong Wulsuo. He was very satisfied with Tong Wulsuo's respect. After smiling and nodding, he said casually, "Very good. Since everyone thinks that this plan is feasible, let's start implementing it. Grandpa, why don't you let Mr. Tong handle the matter of finding someone to invite Lin Yi to refine pills? At least let Mr. Tong play a little role. I believe Mr. Tong will definitely do a good job." Tong Wulsuo's face was calm. He still lowered his head and looked respectful. He cupped his fists at Zheng Dongxing and Zheng Dongjue and said, "This subordinate can arrange these matters. However, the supply of resources will require the support of the Vice Hall Master." Zheng Dongjue laughed and said, "With Wulsuo taking care of these matters, I can rest assured. As for the resources to be used by Lin Yi, you can take as much as you want. I believe that the pills refined by Lin Yi will be enough to make up for all our losses. Then this subordinate will do it now." Tong Wulsuo didn't continue talking nonsense. He directly bowed and left. An hour later, a thin old man carrying a bag came to the Five Elements Commerce Station and politely asked if Lin Yi had time to meet him. At this moment, Lin Yi was thinking about how to earn more spiritual jades. When he heard Wei Shenjin report that someone was looking for him, he asked him to bring the person in. When the thin old man came in, he respectfully cupped his fists and bowed. "Master Lin, thank you for taking the time to meet me. It is my honor to meet Master Lin." Lin Yi smiled faintly and said, "You're welcome. Please take a seat and talk. May I know who you are? What can I do for you?" This old man looked a little familiar. Lin Yi guessed that they had come here on the Okuda Dam's ancient battleship, but they didn't have much interaction before. What was this old man trying to do? After the thin old man thanked him and sat down, he said with a smile, "I'm sorry for my rudeness. I'm Yun Xiao, the sect master of Middle Island's Yunzhong sect. I'm here to look for Master Lin this time to ask Master Lin for help." "So it's sect leader Yun. It's an honor to meet you. May I know what sect leader Yun needs my help with?" Lin Yi politely said, "It's an honor to meet you." In fact, he had never heard of the Cloud sect. Of course, it was impossible for him to meet Yun Xiao. It couldn't be helped. The Cloud sect was a small second-rate sect in Middle Island. Yun Xiao, the sect master, was only at the peak of the nascent soul stage. It would be strange if Lin Yi didn't deliberately inquire about it. It's like this. Our Yunzhong sect came to participate in the auction this time to obtain some cultivation resources so that our disciples can improve their strength. Therefore, we brought a few mystic level 1 elixirs that our sect has been preserving to be auctioned. However, after seeing Master Lin's alchemy ability, I want to ask Master Lin to refine these materials into elixirs before auctioning them." Yun Xiao said straightforwardly and didn't hide his thoughts. This made Lin Yi have a good impression of him. "Thank you, sect leader Yun, for thinking so highly of me. However, there is a chance of failure when refining elixirs. Aren't you afraid that this kind of failure will cause your sect to lose precious resources?" Lin Yi asked casually. He just wanted to earn some spirit jades. Now that Yun Xiao came to him, of course, it couldn't be better. However, something still had to be said, even if he wasn't worried that the elixirs would really fail. Yun Xiao showed a trace of embarrassment on his face and said, "To be honest, Master Lin, I am indeed a little worried. Therefore, I hesitated for a long time before I came to ask Master Lin to refine elixirs. Otherwise, I would have asked you for help on the ancient battleship." This was reasonable. The elixirs that Yun Xiao wanted to refine were the sect's resources. They weren't his personal belongings. It was normal for him to have concerns. Moreover, from his tone, it seemed that he wanted to refine more than 1 or 2 elixirs. This made him even more cautious. Lin Yi didn't ask much. He just smiled and said, "If sect leader Yun is willing to believe in me, then I naturally won't refuse. What kind of elixir does sect leader Yun need to refine?" Yun Xiao revealed a happy expression. He took off the bag on his back and opened it, revealing 6 exquisite jade boxes. He said, "Master Lin, please take a look. I have already divided the ingredients for 6 Mystic Class Level 1 elixirs. 3 of them are Mountain Gazing elixirs, 2 are True Recovery elixirs, and 1 is Spirit Cleansing elixirs. As far as I know, they are all elixirs that Master Lin has refined before. I wonder if Master Lin can help?" It seems that sect leader Yun is quite confident in the elixirs that I've refined. You took out 6 elixirs at once. Lin Yi smiled noncommittally. Yun Shao might have more elixirs, but he only chose these few to refine. He must have considered the success rate. The 3 elixirs that Lin Yi had refined before were all of special quality. It could be said that the risk of asking him to refine these 3 elixirs was the lowest, and the rewards were predictable. It was indeed a very smart decision. The Spirit Cleansing elixir was commissioned by one of the 4 shills on the ancient battleship. It was a Mystic Class Level 1 elixir that could remove toxins from the body. This kind of toxins included poisons from others, as well as elixir toxins formed from long-term consumption of elixirs. It could be said to be a very precious elixir. Lin Yi could also use it. As for the Vitality Restoration elixir, it was always a good thing to have a few more Vitality Restoration elixirs to refine the Vitality Restoration elixir. On the other hand, Lin Yi was a little numb to the Mountain Gazing elixir that he needed previously. If he had known earlier, he wouldn't have troubled Hou Guanqi to exchange for the Mountain Gazing stone. Because of the existence of the Mountain Gazing stone, Lin Yi didn't suspect that Yun Shao was sent by the Zheng family. Of course, it didn't matter even if he was from the Zheng family. Anyway, refining elixirs was only good for Lin Yi. Yun Shao opened the jade boxes humbly. Each jade box had a small compartment with various elixirs in it to ensure that the medicinal properties would not be affected before the refinement. I'm confident in any elixir that Master Lin can refine. It's just that I happen to have these materials. Yun Shao explained with a smile. Then he pushed the jade boxes closer and said, "Please take a look at these elixirs, Master Lin." Chapter 5903. After a careful examination, Lin Yi nodded in satisfaction. Not bad. The quality of sect leader Yun's elixirs is very good. I can promise to refine elixirs for you. However, what are you going to say about the payment? Elixirs could indeed be sold at a price that was several times or even dozens of times more expensive than the materials. However, the price of hiring someone to refine elixirs was not cheap either. If Yun Shao could not give a satisfactory price to Lin Yi, of course, Lin Yi would accept it. For example, if Lin Yi refined 3 portions of Mountain Gazing elixir's materials, he might be able to refine 5 to 6 elixirs. Even if he did not accept any payment, he would still be able to obtain 2 or 3 elixirs. Furthermore, it was impossible for him to not accept any payment. Yun Shao smiled awkwardly and said, "Master Lin, our Yunzhong sect is only a small sect, so we don't have many resources. If it's possible, I hope to get at least 1 elixir for each of these 6 portions of materials. The rest will be Master Lin's elixir refining fee. I wonder if that's possible?" Lin Yi smiled faintly and did not intend to speak. He just looked at Yun Shao quietly. To him, 2 portions of materials for only 1 elixir was a huge profit. However, the normal market for alchemists was not like this. The ratio of 2 to 1 was simply a huge discount. Although Lin Yi did not care, he did not want to agree to such a condition. If it was leaked, it would not do him any good. He would also become the public enemy of all alchemists. Yun Shao was just testing the waters. When he saw that Lin Yi did not speak, he knew that his condition would not be agreed to. Hence, he continued to smile. Of course, other than elixirs, I will also prepare 6 million spiritual jades for Master Lin. I hope that Master Lin will not think that it is too little. To be honest, this amount of spiritual jades was indeed a small amount. However, Lin Yi felt that it was fine as long as he made a profit. For these 6 sets of materials, he would only need to refine pills 3 times. Not to mention the fact that the medicinal pills he reaped were 2 or 3 times more than what the client had asked him to reap. Moreover, he had even charged 6 million spiritual jades. If not for the market, Lin Yi would have felt that he was a black-hearted profiteer. Alright, then it's settled. Before the auction starts, I'll give you the pills. Don't worry, I won't miss out on any of the 3 pills you asked for. Lin Yi was too lazy to say more and directly settled the matter. Cloud Sky suddenly felt a little regretful. If he knew that Lin Yi was so easy to talk to, wouldn't he have asked for a few more medicinal pills just now? He could not afford to use spirit jades to exchange for it. No matter what, it was still a profit. Unfortunately, it was too late to say this now. If he brought it up again, it would only arouse Lin Yi's suspicion. Thank you, Master Lin. Cloud Sky cupped his fists gratefully and said, Oh right, I have a few friends who also have needs in this aspect. If it's possible, can Master Lin also refine pills for them? Lin Yi waved his hand and said, We'll talk about this after you finish refining the medicinal pills. I'll decide by then. You also know that an alchemist can't always maintain the state of refining pills. Of course, these words were nonsense. Other alchemists were like this, but he would definitely not have any restrictions on continuous pill refinement. He only said this because he did not want to attract too much attention from others, even though it was already very eye-catching now. Cloud Sky was secretly happy in his heart, but he showed a regretful expression on his face. He nodded and said, What Master Lin said makes sense. I can only hope that you can help them if it's possible. I won't disturb you today. When Master Lin is done refining the pills, I'll visit again. Cloud Sky placed 2 spirit jade cards, 1 green and 1 blue, next to the jade box. Although he had not started refining the pills, he had already paid the remuneration. Lin Yi did not stand on ceremony and called Wei Shenjin to send him off. Since he had nothing to do today, Lin Yi went into closed-door cultivation to refine pills. 3 cauldrons of medicinal pills would take about a day. This kind of medicinal pill that had been refined before was not difficult at all. After Cloud Sky left the cross-courtyard of the 5 Elements Commerce, he deliberately took a few rounds around the far north island. After confirming that no one was following him, he returned to the residence of the Yunzhong faction. Tong Wulsuo had been waiting in his room. As soon as he entered, Cloud Sky cupped his fists and said with a smile, Mr. Tong, fortunately I didn't disappoint you. Lin Yi has already accepted the request to refine pills and agreed to give one of each medicinal pill. Tong Wulsuo smiled and nodded. Thank you, Sect Leader Yun. Without your help, it would be very difficult for Lin Yi to refine pills for me. You're too kind. It's my honor to be able to gain Mr. Tong's trust. Cloud Sky was not lying. The Yunzhong faction was just a small sect. It was indeed his honor to be able to establish a relationship with someone from the pill hall. Also, I followed Mr. Tong's instructions and tested Lin. After refining this time, he doesn't seem to be prepared to continue refining pills. Tong Wulsuo asked in surprise, He's going to stop just like that? Is it because he doesn't have enough time? Naturally, Cloud Sky did not know the answer. Tong Wulsuo did not expect him to answer either. After a slight pause, he asked again, Did he say when did he give you the medicinal pills? He did. Before the auction started, because I said at the beginning that I wanted to refine them into medicinal pills to participate in the auction. Speaking up to this point, Cloud Sky could not help but ask again, Mr. Tong, why don't we let him refine pills one by one? If that's the case, 6 sets of materials would allow Lin Yi to refine pills 6 times. Although there would be a lot more spiritual jades, we definitely won't be at a disadvantage. The reason is more complicated. It's fine if you don't know. Anyway, thank you very much. Tong Wulsuo nodded at Cloud Sky and stood up to leave. Of course, it was good to find Lin Yi to refine pills again and again. However, Lin Yi was not a fool. It would be strange if he did not raise his suspicions by queuing up like this. Instead, it was natural to look for him in such an obvious manner. Furthermore, the 6 sets of materials this time included his own personal goods. Not all of them were spiritual medicines from the pill hall. Taking the opportunity to let Lin Yi refine a medicinal pill for him, he more or less gained some benefits. Cloud Sky was a little stunned, but he did not show it. Seeing that Tong Wulsuo was about to leave, he immediately sent him out respectfully. Anyway, he would not be at a disadvantage this time. Not only did he form a good relationship with the pill hall, he also gained some benefits. He also got to know Lin Yi. As for the deeper reasons, It was not important whether he knew or not. After dawn the next day, Lin Yi opened the door feeling refreshed. The 3 cauldrons of medicinal pills had already been refined. All that was left was to wait for the time to complete Cloudsky's request. When Wei Shenjin saw Lin Yi open the door, he quickly ran over and said, "Good morning, boss." Lin Yi smiled and greeted him. Then he asked, "How have the past 2 days been? Have you progressed very quickly with Lady Shang?" Chapter 5904. He still wanted to stroll around the extreme North Island with Yuhua alone, but he was so nervous about even having a meal, let alone strolling around. Lin Yi smiled and said, "I'll talk to President Shang later. No matter how busy I am, I can't delay your date." "Really? Then I'll leave it to you, boss." Wei Shenjin didn't hold back at all. He actually shamelessly took advantage of the situation. Sure enough, a man who fell in love was also very unreliable. In the past, he wouldn't have done such a thing. After chatting for a while, Wei Shenjin took out a jade token and handed it to Lin. "Boss, this is from Captain Okuda. He said that there will be a private trade fair in the extreme North Island in the next 2 days. The identity token is similar to the one we had on the ship. If you're interested, you can go and take a look. The time and place are all written on the jade token." Lin took it and looked at it. There were tiny words on the jade token. This identity token allowed him to participate in 3 small trade fairs. The latest one was this afternoon. It was almost time. "This afternoon's trade fair, do you want to go?" Lin Yi waved the jade token in his hand at Wei Shenjin and asked casually. This kind of identity token allowed him to bring 1 person with him. Wei Shenjin thought for a while and nodded. "Then I'll follow boss to see it." "You're so reluctant." "It's fine if you don't want to go," Lin Yi said with a smile. This guy's expression made it seem like he was going to bring him. Wei Shenjin laughed dryly and said, No, boss, don't misunderstand. I want to go, but I was thinking if Yuhua will go. If she goes, then we can go together." Lin Yi couldn't help but laugh. This kid's mind was filled with Shang Yuhua. He was too poisoned, and there was really no cure for him. After chatting for a while, Kai Zhongyang also came out. 5 Elements Commerce was naturally able to get an ID card for this kind of trade fair. Originally, he wanted to invite Lin Yi along. Since Lin Yi already had one, they could go together. When it was almost time, Hou Guanqi and Hong Zhong also came over. They were very familiar with each other now, so they naturally agreed to act together. This small trade fair was organized by a cultivator from the East Continent. Therefore, there were many people who came. After all, people from the East Continent always had a lot of good things on them. After Lin Yi entered, he realized that he had seen the organizer before. To be exact, it was the one who had a conflict with him. Night Moon City, Yu Ziqing. After seeing this guy, Wei Shenjin couldn't help but shrink his neck. He whispered to Lin Yi, "Boss, isn't that guy the fool who was tricked by us? Today, we are at his territory. Let's just go back." Lin Yi couldn't help but scold him with a smile. "You want to go back because you didn't see Shang Yuhua coming, right? If you know fear, you wouldn't have tricked him in the extreme North Chamber of Commerce." Wei Shenjin was stunned. Boss is so wise. You even saw through this. But in the extreme North Chamber of Commerce, wasn't it you who tricked that stupid guy? Did I? Why do I remember that it was you who tricked him? Lin Yi smiled faintly and didn't give Wei Shenjin a chance to refute. He signaled him to be quiet and entered the trade fair. Wei Shenjin could only hold back his words. Boss was right. Anyway, tricking this kind of guy was a glorious thing. Later on, he would brag about this heroic deed to Yuhua. Yu Ziqing also saw Lin Yi and Wei Shenjin in the crowd. A trace of resentment flashed in his eyes. If he didn't know that he was the host today and couldn't do anything inappropriate, he would have already ordered his men to take action. "Everyone, I am Yu Ziqing, the young master of Night Moon City in the East Continent. I am also a disciple of the East Continent's Shixing Academy. Today, I am honored to have you all participate in my trade fair. I am very happy. Now, let's officially enter the trade." Yu Ziqing made a simple opening speech and announced the start of the trade fair. Originally, he prepared a lot of things to say, but after seeing Lin Yi and Yuhua, Yu Ziqing lost interest in talking nonsense. After the announcement, he signaled his men to take out the first item for exchange. Then, he turned his head and whispered a few words to an old man beside him. The old man didn't look at Lin Yi and Wei Xinjin, but Lin Yi clearly felt a vague divine sense sweep over him. This old man was obviously an expert at the mountain opening stage. Unfortunately, in terms of the strength of the divine sense and the skill of using it, he was still far behind Lin Yi. A cold smile appeared on Lin Yi's lips. He was just in opening phase, and if he thought he could take him down just like that, then he'd have to be mentally prepared to have his teeth knocked out. Yu Ziqing's first item for exchange was not bad. The items in the East Continent were indeed very popular, so they were quickly exchanged. In fact, this item could also be auctioned. However, although the auction would last for a few days, many items might not be auctioned in time. Therefore, this kind of small trade fair existed. Anyway, as long as they could get what they needed, it was fine. The second item was still the item that Yu Ziqing had taken out. His subordinate was currently introducing it. Everyone, please take a look. This is a fragment of a top-notch lightning evasion technique. Although it only has the first 2 layers of the mantra, there is no doubt that it is still one of the strongest evasion techniques. Especially for lightning practitioners, as long as they are able to learn the lightning evasion technique, I reckon that the only thing that can be faster than you is the legendary instant movement. Even if you don't have a lightning spiritual root, you can still cultivate it, but the effect won't be as good. Hearing this introduction, Lin Yi couldn't help but be tempted. He had a thunder attack, but he didn't have an escape technique. If he could obtain this thunder escape technique, his strength would definitely increase. Although Yu Ziqing had only taken out the first 2 levels of the thunder escape technique, Lin Yi didn't really care. In any case, the creation battle art that he cultivated was incomplete. Naturally, the incomplete thunder escape technique didn't matter. It was a pity that this item was taken out by Yu Ziqing. Lin Yi reckoned that if he went to exchange for it, he might not be able to obtain it. Therefore, he transmitted a message to Hong Zhong. Brother Hong, I am very interested in this thunder escape technique. However, I have some enmity with that brat called Yu Ziqing, so I will have to trouble you to help me exchange for it. Hong Zhong stood in front of Lin. When he heard Lin Yi's message, his expression didn't change. He didn't even turn his head, as if nothing had happened. After the guy on the stage finished his introduction, he smiled and said, "What do you want to exchange for this thunder escape technique?" The guy who introduced the item looked at Hong Zhong and nodded with a smile. The first choice is a water escape technique of the same level. The second choice is an ice martial skill of the same level. If you don't have it, please state what you can take out and see if it is enough to exchange for it. Chapter 5905. Lin Yi's heart tightened. Since someone asked this, it meant that he had something in his hands. He wondered if Hong Zhong had a similar mental cultivation technique. Lin Yi did have a few ice attribute martial techniques. Unfortunately, they were all of a lower grade and could not be compared to the other party's lightning escape technique. If that was the case, this lightning escape technique would not be easy to obtain. The person on the stage shook his head and said, "Of course we want the complete one. Although our lightning escape technique is incomplete, it is not inferior to a complete martial technique of the same grade. Hence, we will not accept the conditions of an incomplete martial technique." Immediately, there were some whispers below the stage. Using an incomplete martial technique to exchange for a complete martial technique of the same grade, this was a bit too whimsical. The person who asked the question just now did not have any intention to continue speaking. Unexpectedly, Hong Zhong took out a small book and said, "What a coincidence, I happen to have a hailstorm martial technique here. It should be more than enough to exchange for your lightning escape technique, right?" Hailstorm? Yu Ziqing's eyes lit up and immediately interrupted, "Is it a complete martial technique? If it is, then I agree to the exchange." The people below the stage looked at Hong Zhong in surprise. Those who knew him felt it was strange. Hong Zhong was not a lightning attribute cultivator and had always been smart. Why did he make such a mistake today? The hailstorm martial technique was quite famous. Compared to the lightning escape technique, its value was not inferior at all. Needless to say, it was an incomplete version of the lightning escape technique. Hong Zhong smiled faintly. Of course, he would not explain that this was what Lin Yi wanted. What was a mere hailstorm martial technique to him? Right now, Lin Yi's favor was not something that could be easily obtained. It did not matter if he added a few more books. Lin Yi was well aware of this. With regards to Hong Zhong's good intentions, he could only remember it in his heart. If there was a chance, he would repay it. This lightning escape technique was very important to him, so he would not stop Hong Zhong. Of course, it is the complete version of the hailstorm. Since you agree, then let's exchange. Hong Zhong didn't even bother to bargain. If it was him who wanted to exchange, he might ask the other party to take out enough spiritual jades to make up for the difference. But since it was for Lin Yi, the more expensive the better. He even wished that Yu Ziqing could ask him for a few million spiritual jades. Yu Ziqing, whose face was filled with joy, did not think that he would have the chance to earn a fortune. When he heard that Hong Zhong was willing to exchange the complete version of Hailstorm for him, he agreed without hesitation. After getting his hands on it, he eagerly flipped through it. After obtaining the lightning evasion technique, Hong Zhong did not immediately hand it over to Lin. Instead, he kept it for himself and calmly waited for the next item to be traded. If Lin Yi needed it, he could continue to help Lin Yi exchange for it. Yu Ziqing had prepared quite a few items, but he was not in the mood to pay attention to them. After obtaining the hailstorm, he was already very satisfied. If it was not for the fact that he wanted an ice attribute martial skill, he would not have spent 8 million spiritual jades to buy an ordinary martial skill that was worth 100,000 spiritual jades at the extreme North Commerce. The next few items were also very good, but Lin Yi was not too interested in them, so he did not have any intention to sell them. Very quickly, Yu Ziqing, the owner, finished trading. What was left was for the people to take turns to exchange their items. Lin Yi did not bother two people for the same matter, so he simply asked Hong Zhong to go up and purchase the ghost cicada wings. He waited for the other party to state the conditions. Unfortunately, no one took out the ghost cicada wings to exchange, so he could only give up regretfully. As a fellow student of Xixing Academy, Qian Xiaodong also came to support. However, he came rather late, so Lin Yi did not notice him at first. It was only when he felt that unfriendly gaze that he saw this brat walking to Yu Ziqing's side. Qian Xiaodong had the ghost cicada wings, but after he knew about Zheng Tianqing's plan, of course, he would not take it out now. So no matter what, Hong Zhong would not be able to exchange for the ghost cicada wings. When the sky turned dark, this small trade fair was also announced to be over. Lin Yi finally exchanged for 2 spiritual herbs that could be used to refine a mystic level 1 medicinal pill. Finally, his trip was not in vain. However, he did not plan to participate in the other 2 trade fairs. Almost all the people who came to the extreme North Island had already appeared in this trade fair. Almost all the things that could be exchanged had been taken out, so there was not much meaning in continuing to participate in the trade fair. As for the identity card, Lin Yi transferred it to Wei Xinjin, so that he and Shang Yuhua could go together to have a look next time. In case they could see something good, at least someone could go and quote a price. Returning to the 5 Elements Commerce Station, Hong Zhong gave the Lightning Escape Techniques Remnant book to Lin. Lin Yi gratefully cupped his fists and said, "Brother Hong, thank you so much this time, your ice storm." "Brother Lin, there's no point in saying such words. It's just a martial skill that you can't use. You're still fussing over it with your brother." Hong Zhong pretended to be unhappy and said, "It was just a high-level martial skill, he really did not care about it." Lin Yi laughed and said, "Brother Hong, what I mean is, your ice storm is also a good martial skill. Do you have any similar martial skill? Just give it to me." "Hey, you really have the nerve to say that. How come I didn't know that your skin is actually thicker than mine before?" Hong Zhong was stunned for a moment, and then he also laughed. Of course, he knew that Lin Yi was joking. To be able to make Lin Yi say such words, then the ice storm was worth it. If Lin Yi must be fussed over the ice storm, it could only mean that Hong Zhong was still an outsider in Lin Yi's heart. Now, Lin Yi's way of speaking was the result that Hong Zhong wanted. Kai Zhongyang and Hou Guanqi also had a good harvest today, so they were naturally in a good mood. Everyone sat down and talked and laughed. They also ate some food, and the atmosphere was quite harmonious. When they were almost done eating, Cloudy Xiao came to visit Lin. Hong Zhong and the others also took the opportunity to leave. Anyway, there were still a few days before the auction began. There was plenty of time to chat and drink, so there was no hurry. Lin Yi brought Cloudy Xiao back to his room and asked indifferently, "Sect leader Yun came to find me so quickly. Is there something you're worried about?" I don't dare. Master Lin, don't misunderstand." Cloudy Xiao hurriedly waved his hand and explained with a humble smile, "I just happened to see Master Lin coming back from the trade fair. I thought I should visit and ask Master Lin about alchemy." Chapter 5906. As for taking the things back, that was complete nonsense. The pills had already been formed, so what was left? Medicinal dregs? Yun Xiao waved his hand again and said, No. Master Lin, don't misunderstand. I'm talking about refining pills because my friend heard that I was looking for Master Lin to refine pills, so he asked me to ask if I could ask Master Lin to help refine pills. I told him that I mentioned it last time, but he kept asking. I didn't give him face, so I could only ask Master Lin. Lin Yi frowned slightly and said, "I've said it before. We'll talk about this after you finish refining the pills. If you want a clear answer, then I'll tell you that before the auction starts, other than the pills I promised you, I won't accept any other requests." Yun Xiao was secretly happy. Lin Yi's words were the answer he wanted to hear. He immediately pretended to be regretful and said, "That's a pity, but there's no other way. Master Lin's health is the most important. You must take care of yourself. I'll directly reject my friend. I'm sorry for disturbing Master Lin today. I'll take my leave." After saying that, Yun Xiao stood up and bowed respectfully. Then he left Lin Yi's room. This time, Lin didn't stand up to send him off. Instead, he frowned slightly as he watched Yun Xiao leave. He didn't feel it last time, but today he had a strange feeling. This Yun Xiao was indeed a little strange. He specially came here to ask if he could refine pills for others? Normally, since he was here, he should be concerned about the progress of his pills, right? Could it be that he was afraid of offending Lin Yi? If that was the case, he shouldn't have come here at all, right? After thinking about it, Lin Yi didn't bother with him. While he had nothing to do, he quickly studied the lightning escape. He owed Hong Zhong a big favor in exchange for this. He hoped it wouldn't disappoint him. First level of the lightning escape, borrowing lightning to escape. When using the first layer of the lightning evasion technique, there must be lightning. Simply put, it was using the power of lightning to perform the evasion technique. As for how far one could go, it depended on how much power of lightning the user could borrow. If it was someone else, the first level of the lightning escape would be a useless skill. To use it, there must be lightning. Who would borrow lightning to play with when there was thunder and rain every day? But Lin Yi didn't have any problems in this area. He could even create lightning calamity, so what was a little bit of lightning from the first stage of lightning evasion? After a short while, Lin Yi had completely mastered the first stage of lightning evasion. Even if he saw someone else using lightning evasion, there was a high chance that he could copy it. It would be much easier to learn the technique with the original one. He casually shot out a lightning arc and Lin Yi's figure instantly disappeared. Then, he appeared on the other end of for the lightning 4-4 for the speed. So fast! Lin Yi was startled for a moment. Then he was overjoyed. This lightning escape was indeed powerful. If he was in a battle, wouldn't he be able to appear at any location he wanted? Although the Universe Step and Cloud Dragon's 3 appearances that he had learned from the immemorial pugilistic world had similar effects, Lin Yi was very clear that those skills were like a smokescreen. If he met a real expert, it was very likely that he would be seen through or even countered. But the lightning escape was completely different. That kind of speed that was comparable to teleportation, how strong would a cultivator have to be able to catch it? Especially when Lin Yi used a lightning-type skill that had a large area of effect like the Thunder Burial. Who would be able to find his location? The only regret was that the first level of the lightning escape was not completely untraceable. Because he could only use the trajectory of the lightning arc to escape, the direction was completely the same as the lightning arc. When Lin Yi made his move, he could indeed determine the target of the lightning arc. But after using the lightning escape, he could not change it. If someone could see where he was going to attack, No matter how fast the lightning escape was, there was still a chance to defend. Fortunately, although the lightning escape that Lin Yi had obtained was incomplete, there was still the second level of the lightning escape. Lightning escape. The second level could be said to have made up for the first level's flaws. It allowed Lin Yi to use the lightning to escape and change the direction of the lightning arc as he wished. Of course, there were not many opportunities to change the direction because the energy of the lightning arc could not be maintained for long. In the blink of an eye, it would disappear. After cultivating for a while, Lin Yi had grasped the trick of lightning escape. A lightning arc appeared in the room again. This time, after Lin Yi disappeared, the lightning arc made two strange changes in direction before disappearing. Lin Yi reappeared and couldn't help but clench his fist and wave it. Success! Even though the incomplete lightning escape technique only had these two levels of mantra, it was enough for him. Originally, he could challenge those of a higher level. Now that he had the lightning escape, he was even more confident. Even if he met someone he couldn't defeat, he could still escape. The biggest use of the lightning escape was not to appear and disappear like a ghost in a battle, but to travel in a straight line. If he borrowed the natural lightning in the sky, it would not be difficult to travel 1,000 miles in a flash. Lin Yi's current strength was not strong enough. The distance of the lightning arc he created was more than 100 meters. But if he used it to escape, it was estimated that not many people could catch up with him. Lin Yi was feeling happy when the ghost in the jade space suddenly said, "Boy, your luck is not bad. You got the lightning escape. Although it is only 2 levels, it is still very rare." "Senior Ghost, you are out." Lin Yi smiled in surprise and said, "Did you gain a lot from this retreat?" "It was okay. Unfortunately, the soul tempering pill is useless to me for the time being. I will wait for you to bid for the soul wood and let this old man take care of it." The ghost's mood was not bad. It seemed that the effect of this retreat was good. "Rest assured, I will bid for the soul wood. Right now, we are not short of spirit jades," Lin Yi said with a tone of a nouveau riche. But he immediately changed the topic and asked about the lightning escape. "Senior, do you know about the lightning escape? Do you have the last few levels?" The ghost said very straightforwardly, "I don't know the lightning escape. Do you think I don't have the last level? Do you think that anyone who knows the name of the lightning escape will know the lightning escape?" Lin Yi was suddenly speechless. After all, the ghost was only a ghost. It was not an omniscient existence. He could only take a step back and asked, "Do you know how many levels there are in the lightning escape?" Chapter 5907. The ghost thing laughed and said, "I don't remember how many layers there are, but the 3rd layer should be body fusion with thunder. The 4th layer should be body fusion with thunder. As for whether there are more layers after that, well, I don't remember." Lin Yi was secretly amused. What did it mean that it didn't remember? It was obvious that it didn't know. He was too lazy to expose the ghost thing. Instead, he carefully thought about the information he got from the ghost thing. Body fusion with thunder. Body fusion with thunder, although the 3rd and 4th layers mnemonics were gone, but from this name, one could roughly infer the direction of development in the future. Lin Yi's heaven-defying fortune battle art and omnipotent Jin Qi were best at imitating and copying other people's martial skills. His deduction ability was naturally needless to say. After having a direction, he might not need the mnemonics for the later parts of the technique. He could create a suitable heart technique to perfect the lightning escape technique. "Senior Ghost, it's good to have you here. Listening to you casually bragging like this, it makes me feel that I have gained a lot," Lin Yi said with a sigh. This was absolutely sincere. If there was a ghost thing in the ancient small world, he didn't know how much easier it would be. The ghost thing said with dissatisfaction, "Brat, what nonsense are you talking about? How am I bragging? It's simply preposterous." "Senior Ghost, your focus is wrong. Shouldn't your eyes be brimming with tears when you hear the first sentence?" Lin Yi said with a laugh. When the mood was relaxed and happy, it was not bad to joke with the ghost thing. "If I could have tears brimming in my eyes, why would I need a little brat like you?" The ghost thing also couldn't help but scold. With Lin Yi becoming stronger day by day, his body's recovery was also quite gratifying. Perhaps it was not impossible for him to reconstruct his body. In terms of mood, it was even better than Lin Yi. While the two were talking nonsense, Wei Shenjin reported from outside the door, "Boss, someone is looking for you. He said it's an important matter." Lin Yi used his divine sense to sweep outside. There was indeed a young woman at the entrance of the courtyard. He guessed that she was the person Wei Shenjin said was looking for him. However, Lin Yi didn't know this person, so he didn't know what important matter it was. If he wasn't in a good mood, Lin Yi absolutely wouldn't have bothered to pay attention to this young woman. But now, it didn't matter if she had something important to say or not. "Invite her in," Lin Yi said as he opened the door and walked towards the living room. It would be too inconvenient to meet a woman in the room. Very quickly, the young woman came in. When she saw Lin Yi, she immediately bowed respectfully and said, "Right Protector of the 100 Flowers Gate, Hua Lianxin, greets Master Lin." "So it's Protector Hua. Please take a seat." Lin Yi nodded politely and gestured for her to take a seat. This was another small sect that he had never heard of. However, since she was a guest, he could not be rude. "Thank you very much, Master Lin." Hua Lianxin smiled warmly and sat down next to Lin. Then she respectfully said, "I came to visit Master Lin at this late hour because I have a request." Lin Yi's eyebrows twitched. A strange feeling welled up in his heart. Why did this scene seem so familiar? Without waiting for Hua Lianxin to continue speaking, Lin Yi smiled and said, "Protector Hua's so-called important matter, it can't be that you want this Lin to refine pills, right?" Hua Lianxin was slightly startled. Then she sweetly said, "Master Lin's eyes are like a torch. I want to ask Master Lin to help me refine a batch of pills. Because I've seen the quality of pills Master Lin refined on the ship, I've managed to gather the required spirit herbs. I can't wait until tomorrow, so I came to ask Master Lin to help me. As for the cost, I ask Master Lin to name a price. Although our 100 Flower Gate is a small sect, we still have some spirit jades." Lin Yi faintly smiled, "Protector Hua, you're too late. I've already agreed to refine pills for someone else. Before the auction begins, I won't refine pills for anyone else. If you can wait, then when we return to the Central Island, go find me at the Tiandan Pavilion. If you can't wait, then go find Grandmaster Li Zhao Yi from the Pill Hall. Of course, you can also participate in the auction. I have a chance to refine pills on the Northern Island. As long as you win it, I'll definitely be able to refine pills for you before the auction ends." Hua Lianxin couldn't hide her disappointment. Shaking her head, she said, "That's too late. I hope to get the pills I need before the auction begins. Master Lin, I don't know if you can make an exception and refine pills for me first. As for the cost, I don't know how many spirit jades the last person paid. Our 100 Flower Gate can pay double the amount." Lin Yi's expression immediately darkened, coldly saying, "Protector Hua, do you think that I'll betray you just for a few spirit jades?" "Master Lin, please forgive me. I misspoke." Hua Lianxin hurriedly stood up and bowed in apology. "You know that I didn't mean it that way. I just didn't think it through and said the wrong thing. I hope Master Lin doesn't mind." Lin Yi lightly snorted, indifferently saying, "Don't mention this matter again. Protector Hua, please return. If you want to refine pills, then consider my previous proposals. I won't see you out." Hua Lianxin bitterly smiled. "Master Lin, is there really no room for discussion? I don't expect you to refine pills for us first. Even if you finish that person's commission, you can refine pills when you have free time. Our